Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I didn't know we'd have footage of this, but I just found out we do. So we're going to cover it. I'm just rushing on I don't even have the chat window open right now. Can't even see what you're saying. I hope we're live. I'll figure it out in a second. Let's see here. I think we're live. Yes, people say they can hear me. All right, good. So, I knew Trump was speaking today, and I thought we might cover it, but then it wasn't clear to me that we would actually have any video, and I just I knew, and I just found out we do. So, we'll show this, and then we'll talk about some stuff after, but we'll show this first, and then we can discuss some Trump updates after. It's going to happen at any moment now. Although you never know, it could run. I mean, he sometimes starts late. So I just rushed to get on the air. So let me just organize some stuff here. Unfortunately, I did not know in advance. But we know now. Okay. So there's been some. By the way, I think Facebook is like not working or something. Is Facebook working or not? What's going on with Facebook? We'll see. There's been a thing today where the Trump administration announced it's killing the congestion pricing program in New York City, which I think has only been around for about 2 months. New York City says that the New York governor says they are going to challenge that in court. There is this ongoing tension between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky we can talk about. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Let me just click on something here. Yes, no one is speaking yet. No one is speaking yet. This, by the way, is in Miami. This is as Reuters describes it, a meeting of global financiers and tech executives hosted by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. Again, Reuters describes this event. It's the FII Priority Event. It is a meeting of global financiers and tech executives hosted by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, and this is happening in Miami. Let me real quick. Facebook streaming appears to be not working right now, unfortunately. So I might post on our Facebook that people should watch it on our other platforms. I'm gonna post that. Oh no, it is working on Facebook. That's strange. It is live on Facebook. Well, we're live on Facebook. Okay, I'm glad it's working. Okay. Let me try to give you a little more background on this appearance here. Again, I did not know that we would have live footage of this, but we do. Yes. This is a meeting. This is a meeting of global financiers and tech executives hosted by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. This, according to Reuters. This is the FII Priority Summit. And then after, we'll talk about some other things. The Washington Post says this is a meeting of business executives hosted by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. So I'm going to say Saudi Arabia hosted meeting. How about that? I mean, I said conference. Hosted event in Miami. How about that? How about business event? Saudi Arabia hosted business event. That seems a little better. I got to make this. Okay. So, and again, we're going to watch it live. Now, when, if I just thought he was going to speak about Saudi Arabian related business matters, I wouldn't cover it. But with Trump, he could speak about all kinds of things. So there's been the ongoing, last couple days, tensions between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. And as I mentioned, oops, what did I do? Oops. Oh, there's a typo. There is a typo in the headline that I just wrote. Thanks for letting me know. There's the Trump administration killing the congestion pricing program in New York City, but New York State says they're going to challenge that. Trump posting on social media today, "Long live the king," referring to himself. So we can talk about that. By the way, thanks to our moderators here, we have Beth Mythical, Janet B., Sabrina, Ruth Krafasi. Thanks so much for being here. Danny James moderating. I am back in the home studio, feeling a lot better. Not 100% better, but a lot better at this point, which is good. So thanks for bearing with me for the last week or so. Also, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, thanks for modding. Thanks Matthew Kohai and McBritches for moderating over there on Twitch. And thanks to our Facebook moderators as well. Margaret Riley, thank you. And hey, thanks so much to Quake Clouds for subscribing. And thanks for your support, Fred Witherow. Thank you, Fred. And also thanks to, oops. Kerry Poteet, thanks for the gift memberships, Kerry. Also, Stephen Roberts, thanks for being a member so much. Thanks, Stephen. By the C760 and Caleb are members. Thanks, Crispy Bacon, for your support. And thanks, Ray Serrana. And thanks to Synthesizer for the gift membership. All right, hang on a moment here. Again, we are waiting. When is the official start time? The official start time, I think, is it 5:20? That's a good question. I have this listed somewhere. If you give me a moment. And again, I do apologize for the kind of coming on all at once. This was a stream where I had no idea whether we were going to have footage. And I only found out the White House was covering it right before we came on the air. So I said, let's rush and try to get on the air to see if we can cover it. So I'm glad that I was able to get on soon enough. The official start time is, I don't know if I have one. I mean, on the, I'd have to get the schedule for the conference. On the White House guidance, they say he does this at 5 p.m. local time. It's now 5:15. I mean, it could start in, who knows? It could start in 1 minute. It could start in half an hour. But according to the White House, it was supposed to start at 13 minutes ago. I don't want to get, we can talk about we'll talk about some of the other things after he finishes. I don't want to get too off on something else and miss him starting. I was trying to find a schedule program. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the website right now. It is the 19th. I'm looking at the FII priority schedule, and it says, if I can get to the 19th, uh, 5 to 6. Here, I'm going to show you right now. Well, really quick, there it is. February 19th, presidential address, special address delivered by the 45th and 47th of the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. 5 to 6, it says. 5 to 6. Now, it is 5:14, but it'll start soon. Thanks so much to Lisa Sawyer for the gift membership, and our member Lucky Minute, and Alan for your support. This keyboard is a Keychron. I think it's a Keychron Q2. It's a mechanical keyboard by Keychron. I think it's a Q2 if I remember right, but don't hold me to that. Thank you so much, Alan. And Wendy Cookie WM in Alaska are members. All right. Anything else? Will he, it's a business conference. Will he talk about the layoffs that are happening right now in the U.S. among the federal government, being advised by the DOGE agency? More layoffs reportedly to come in the Defense Department. I've seen reports about that. But there might be more layoffs in all departments. From what I understand, the first batches of layoffs are among probationary employees, which are employees which have only worked a certain amount of time, and not employees who are in trouble or anything. And from what I understand, that's because they are easier to let go, easier to fire. But I've seen reporting saying that after that's done, there's going to be even more layoffs. So hold on a second here. So we'll have to, we'll see if he, something, hold on a second here. So we'll see if he talks about that at all. Someone mentioned a plane crash. I mean, so there was a collision of two small planes where two people passed away. I don't know if we'll talk about that on this stream. I posted about it on my X account. That was in Arizona. Will he talk about the negotiations going on with Russia, between the U.S. and Russia over the Ukraine situation? Negotiations which Ukraine is not at. Again, this event is hosted by the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund. That's an investment fund basically run by a country, as I understand it. Yes, Wikipedia says a sovereign wealth fund is a state-owned investment fund that invests in real and financial assets. They invest globally. Most sovereign wealth funds are funded by revenues from commodity exports or from foreign exchange reserves held by the central bank. Thank you, Crypto King, for your support. Thanks for shouting out the mods. Thanks to our member, Eric Rams. Yes, I'm feeling a lot better. Not 100%, but a lot better. Ooh, I have to get the text ready to say Miami, Florida. I'd like to be in Miami right now, not cold Boston. It's cold here. Thank you also so much, Nini, for your support. I should check, as we start here, I should check on Joel Franco, who I follow on X, just posted there's a lot of big police presence out in Miami Beach. I think because of this. Where is this event exactly? Again, it's the Faina Hotel and Forum. This is in Miami Beach, actually. It's in Miami Beach. The Faina Hotel and Forum. But he is speaking in Miami Beach. Miami Beach, by the way, is part of the Miami metropolitan area, but it's a different city than Miami, as I understand it. This hotel is Google says it's a 5-star hotel. The Faina Hotel, Miami Beach, is where this is. This is on Faina Hotel. I'm looking at their website right now. Faena. That's where this is being held. I'm trying to get you an address. This is public information, by the way. The Faina Hotel in Miami Beach is, this hotel is right on the beach. It's a 5-star hotel, says Google. Okay, so really quick, I'm going to show you something real quick to just show you where this is being held. Oopsie. Really quickly here. Are you ready? Let's see if this works. Oops. There it is. Okay, so it says Faina Hotel Miami Beach. It's right there. That's the Faina Hotel Miami Beach. That's from Google Maps, by the way. Oopsie, what did I do here? So this is where this thing is. The Faina Hotel Miami Beach, 5-star hotel. Again, Trump did not organize this conference himself. This is it's the Saudi Wealth Fund. Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund did it. But that's where it is. The Faina Hotel and Forum in Miami Beach. The motto of the convention, the FII Priority Convention, is called Invest with Purpose. Hold on. Hang on a moment. I'm looking at a different feed, which I can't show you, but hey, thanks so much to Ken Lance. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Yep, I'm feeling a lot better. What I'm going to do so I can see it here is, I'm not going to worry about that. So I have my eye on a feed, but I can't show you that feed, but you know what I'll do really quick? Let me just do something real quick. Give me a second here. Just make it easier for me to see. Okay. I have my eye on a feed just so I can tell you when it's going to start. But, whoa. That's not what I wanted to do. Whoa. Why am I hearing music? Okay. They're playing music at the thing. The speech is scheduled to be an hour. President Trump had a controversial post today on his social media about Zelensky. There's this, I don't know if you want to call it a feud between him and President Zelensky of Ukraine. But, give me a second here. Oh, I should also show you this. Here's a post that the White House made today. The White House made this post. They quoted Trump, which he posted himself, saying, congestion pricing is dead. Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king. And then they had a mock-up magazine cover with Trump with a crown on. That's from the White House social media. I might, if I get a chance, show you after some of what Governor Hochul said in response to Trump. But the Trump administration killed, unless it's reversed by a court, the congestion pricing scheme in New York City, which I believe had been under planning for like years. There had been a lot of planning that went into it. And I think it only went into effect about 2 months ago. So that was a big story today. We can talk about that more after. And then his other post, which I wanted to mention. No, that wasn't Time. That wasn't an actual Time magazine. It didn't even say Time on it. It said Trump on it. Maybe I'll throw this up there for the moment, just in case you haven't seen it. I don't really want to get all into this now. But Trump had a controversial post today about President Zelensky of Ukraine, where some critics of the post claim it has some false claims in it about Zelensky. Some critics call them Kremlin talking points. Where he says that Zelensky talked the U.S. into going into a war that couldn't be won, a war that never had to start. Again, this war started when Russia invaded Ukraine. He says Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered. Millions have unnecessarily died, and so it continues. He says Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. He says, in the meantime, we, the United States, are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia. Again, Ukraine is not part of those negotiations. So maybe we can talk more about that after. I don't know if he'll discuss this at all in his speech. Oh, breaking news. Breaking news. New York Times reports the IRS will begin laying off roughly 6,000 employees on Thursday. That is coming from the New York Times. I just saw it. The New York Times is reporting that the IRS will begin laying off roughly 6,000 employees tomorrow. Targeting relatively recent hires at the IRS. Similar to other departments where there's been layoffs. Again, my understanding is that recent hires are being targeted because they are easier to get rid of. Yes, even the New York Times says the Trump administration has begun laying off probationary employees across the federal government. They do not enjoy as much job protection as their more tenured colleagues. Again, this is just in. Now, there may be more employees laid off later. But that is a new report from the New York Times that just came out, that says, again, that the IRS will begin laying off 6,000 employees tomorrow, roughly 6,000 tomorrow. Oh, so I can tell you that I think we're close because I think we're very close because I am seeing a graphic play behind the podium right now. Although I don't know if that graphic was playing before. I think it wasn't. So again, as soon as he starts speaking, the White House feed, which is what we're watching, they will cut to him. He's not on the stage yet. We'll talk about more of this stuff after he speaks. Thanks, Heather Lynn, our member. Thank you. And again, I do apologize that we didn't have more of I didn't know in advance we were going to be covering this, but I didn't know in advance that we would even have access to this footage. So as soon as I found out, I rushed on the ears so we could cover it. Charmander says, is there a reason Steve is covering? Yes, I'm covering because when Trump makes speeches, there can be big news in the speeches. You never know what he's going to say, and you never know what he's going to announce. So, we are covering it. You know, 2 weeks ago we covered a press. We covered a press conference he did with Bibi Netanyahu, and he ended up announcing his plan for the U.S. to take over Gaza. Another thing that was reported today that I wanted to mention. Oh, hold on a second. Here we go. We have a speaker. A speaker is speaking.
welcome to the third edition of the FII Priority Summit in Miami. This year, we are starting with an exceptional session. It is my distinct honor to introduce a man who is the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America. This man is a visionary business person, a media icon, and a political leader, of course. His impact on the global stage has been profound. From transforming the real estate industry to reshaping economic and foreign policy, his leadership continues to spark dialogue and drive change. At the Future Investment Initiative Institute, we are committed to shaping a more sustainable future by fostering innovation and global collaboration. These are principles that align with the President's bold approach to leadership and economic growth. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Okay, so I have to mute it while they're playing Proud to be an American song. So they're playing God Bless the USA, I guess it's called. So as soon as the music stops and he starts speaking, I will turn the audio on. So there he is. We'll see what he has to say today. I don't know what he's going to say. There he is, though. So we'll see. Again, this is a Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund hosted business event in Miami Beach. You never know what he's going to say. ED thinks he will declare war on the cartels. He's dancing a little bit. Again, I'm sorry I can't play the music, but I have to wait till the music's over for copyright reasons. Is MBS there, said Johnny. I don't know that MBS is there. I haven't heard he's there, but I can't say he's not there. I'm not sure either way. I guess you could describe MBS as the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia. Ben Feller says Elon is there. Is that true? I haven't seen him. I don't know. Maybe he is. Again, I'm just waiting till the music ends, and we will hear what Trump has to say in Miami Beach. Thank you, Christine and PZ Papazulu, for your support. Thanks also to all of our moderators. I really appreciate it. We're bringing you live coverage here. And afterwards, we'll talk about some of the Trump-related news today. And we'll talk about what he said. April Taj said, yes, Elon is there. Maybe Elon posted about it today. I'm not sure. Okay, I think the song might be ending. Oh, hold on. Song it's just ending now.
Thank you very much. What a great group this is. You have to see outside. It's going wild outside with a lot of love for all of us, I guess. But thank you, Richard, for the introduction, and thank you to all for such a warm welcome. It's great to be back in beautiful Miami, where I've actually built a lot of great buildings with the Desert family and some others. We've had tremendous success in Miami. We have Trump Towers and Sunny Isles Beach. It's 4 beautiful buildings right on the ocean. The Trump Grande, put the little E in the end for a little, class it up a little bit. Trump Grande and the 700-acre Doral. It's a tremendous country club, and it's actually the most successful country club in the U.S., where I was just given approval to build 1,500 units, and I couldn't care less about building units. When you're president, who the hell wants to build units? I've been building units all my life. I don't want to build units, but they gave us permission to do it. But today is a tremendous honor. Become the first American president to address the Future Investment Initiative Institute. That's the first one. It's always known. And I want to thank Mayor of Miami Francis Suarez for being here. Thank you very much, Francis, wherever you may be. Hi, Francis. And thank you for the endorsement when I ran. I was very appreciative. Along with the Mayor of Miami Beach, Stephen Miner. Stephen, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. And numerous American business leaders, some of the biggest business leaders actually anywhere in the world, and many distinguished guests from the Middle East, and in particular the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a special place with special leaders. And including FII Institute Chairman and Governor of the Public Investment Fund, which is a seriously big fund. Yasser, I see you there. Stand up, Yasser. Everyone knows Yasser. Thank you. Great guy, great person. And Finance Minister Mohammed, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you very much. Good to see you again. That's pretty good, Finance Minister of that part of the world. That's not bad. Other parts of the world, not so good, but that one is good. And many other senior government leaders. I also want to recognize the Kingdom's ambassador to the United States, Her Royal Highness Princess Rima. Ooh, very popular. Very popular. Wow, that's very nice. Sitting next to Elon. Wow, you couldn't do better than that, huh? As well as my own special envoy to the Middle East, who's really done a fantastic job, Steve Witkoff. Thank you, Steve. He's been busy. And Michael Waltz is here. Where is Michael? Michael's been so busy. They've been going back and forth and back, and a woman who is just voted the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. No, I'm going to go with Princess Rima, but she was voted the most powerful woman anywhere in the world, Susie Wiles. Thank you. Thank you. Most powerful woman. That's pretty good. We have to talk to you about that, Susie. That's pretty good. And also, we all know Jared Kushner, a very special guy. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Jared. And Elon Musk. He's been making a little news lately, hasn't he, though? Very positive news. Stand up, Elon. He's a great guy. We did a little show last night. I heard they got very good ratings, too, by the way. We did. Hannity. Sean Hannity was fantastic, a fantastic man, a fantastic guy, and he did a show, and it was great being on the show with you last night. I come today with a simple message for business leaders from all across the nation and all around the world. If you want to build the future, push boundaries, unleash breakthroughs, transform industries, and make a fortune, because you want to make a fortune. Most of you have already made a fortune. I don't want to say that. There's no better place on earth than the current and future United States of America under a certain president named Donald J. Trump. I think that you're going to do very well. They're saying that November 5th, Election Day, 2024 will go down as one of the most important days in the history of our country. They said in 129 years, the most consequential election. I don't know if they're right about that or not, but it sounds good. I wanted to see if I could get a couple of more years tacked on, but I figured the fight wasn't really worth it. 129 is a lot. And as of January 20th, 2025, the dark days of high taxes, crushing regulations, rampant inflation, flagrant corruption, government weaponization. Oh, I know about weaponization. And total incompetence will be gone forever. They'll be gone forever. Because the United States is back and open for business, and the golden age of America has officially begun. You see it happening. Since my election, America's economic engines have come roaring back to life in just a very short period of time. Think of it, from November 5th, the progress that's been made has been amazing. The NASDAQ is up nearly 10% in just a few months, and that's a lot. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 2,200 points, and Bitcoin is set multiple all-time record highs, because everyone knows that I'm committed to making America the crypto capital. We want to stay we want to stay at the forefront of everything, and one of them is crypto, and Miami seems to be the center of the action, come to think of it, and maybe it'll stay there. Business optimism skyrocketed 42 points. Think of that in a single month, the most in history by far. That's the biggest increase in history by not even close. The ISM index of manufacturing activity surged into positive territory for the first time in many years. Amazing. And it was just announced, this is an interesting one, I didn't realize it was that bad for so long, but it was just announced by one of the nation's most historically accurate and respected pollsters, Rasmussen, that the number of Americans who believe our country is on the right track now exceeds those who think it's heading in the wrong direction for the first time in 20 years. Can you believe that? 20 years. And this is really a seismic 27-point swing from just before the election. Nobody's ever seen anything like that one, yes, sir. I want to tell you, that's a big one. The best and most successful business leaders on earth are now racing to invest in the United States. Since November, DMAC has announced plans to invest $40 billion in the U.S., creating at least 10,000 jobs. SoftBank has announced investments of between $100 and $200 billion, creating at least 100,000 American jobs. Oracle and OpenAI and SoftBank are now collectively committing $500 billion to keep the United States on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and so many more. I mean, so many companies that want to come to the White House and have a little news conference all the time. I said, why don't you just announce it? But they want to come, and I'll do that. I don't mind doing that. I say anytime they want to go 10 billion or more, I'm there. 10 billion or more. But on his recent visit to the White House, the Prime Minister of Japan announced he anticipates Japanese investment in the United States of well over $1 trillion, and we're working on an Alaska pipeline already, which is the closest point to Asia. And as you know, the ANWR, which we've started, Ronald Reagan couldn't get it approved. Nobody could get it approved for so many years. Couldn't get it approved. I got it approved. Actually, I got it approved twice. I got it approved, and Biden ended it. That was a shocker, but we just got it approved again. And we're going to be, it's probably the largest deposit maybe anywhere in the world, just by itself. It's, they say, of similar size to Saudi Arabia, so we hope that's correct. But all of this is only happening because of the world-changing results of the 2024 election. We won the House. We won the Senate, the White House, and the Electoral College, and the popular vote in a landslide. We also won all 7 swing states, and all 50 states shifted in the Republican direction for the first time ever. So every state, every single state of the 50 states shifted Republican. It's never happened before. Either way, it's never happened. And 85% of counties voted for Trump. Think of that. So you have 2,600 counties versus 525. 2,600, think of that. That's why when you look at the election map after it was all done, the certified map, the whole thing was red. 2,600 versus 500. It's a big difference. Nobody's seen anything like it, actually. So as a result of this very historic victory, investors from all over the planet once again have confidence in America's future and respect for America's leaders. And it's about time we get a little respect. The last administration was the worst and most incompetent in the history of our country, but we are moving quickly to fix every single disaster Joe Biden created and make America stronger and more prosperous than ever before. Our first and most urgent mission is to remove the criminals that Biden allowed into our country with the ridiculous and very dangerous open borders policy. They came from all over the world. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They were gang members. They were drug lords. They came from all over, and they were allowed to come into our country. And we're getting them out in record levels, just like they came in record levels. I want to thank Tom Homan and Christie, who was she's doing a fantastic job, governor of South Dakota, and Tom Homan, and they are doing a fantastic job. And the results are incredible. And every country is taking them back. They're sending their criminals to us, and they're all taking them back. We had a little problem with a couple of them that ended very quickly. And because some said, we don't really want MS-13 back in our country. But I said, congratulations, you're taking them back. And they take them back. And by the way, Europe and other places ought to start also doing that. They better start looking at immigration, because it's really hurting Europe very, very badly. And they better get smart, and they better get tough before it's too late. We're also working to end the highest inflation in our country's history, all caused because they played with our energy policy and wasted money on the Green New Scam and other things such as that. And they wasted monies at never seen before levels. If Joe Biden had simply held federal spending at the pre-pandemic levels we had in 2019, we would have virtually no inflation. We're trying to balance the budget immediately, and because of the tariff income, which is really, it's already turned out to be amazing, actually. It's really meant more for bringing countries and companies into our country, but the numbers are rather staggering, because we're the big piggy bank that everybody wants to be, and they can play games and they can say, well, there'll be retribution and, equal this and that, but they can't be equal. But we want to keep it so that we're the big piggy bank. And if we had years like we did the last 4 years, that wouldn't have lasted too long. So we're not promising it, but, all of these things could happen. We hope to balance our budget. So I don't want to promise it, because if I do and we come about $10 short, the fake news media back there would say, we have breaking news. He did not make it. He did not make it. But we'll get it done very soon. It might not be this year, but it could be this year. Actually, we have a chance at getting it even this year, which people would be shocked at, because they were talking about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. When I took office last month, we inherited the consequences of inflation. That was more than 4 times what it was when I left 4 years ago. Think of that. I left, it was at 1.4%. And the annual government spending over $1.5 trillion more than projected in 2020 alone. 1.5 trillion. But under the Trump administration, all of that is changing faster and more dramatically than anyone ever thought possible. They didn't think it was possible to do what we've done in just a very short period of time. We've accomplished more in 4 weeks than most administrations accomplish in 4 years. On my first day in office, I imposed an immediate federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, and a foreign aid freeze. I signed an order creating the Department of Government Efficiency and put a man named Elon Musk in charge. Thank you, Elon, for doing it. Thank you very much. And he's doing a great job. I wish you could have seen him last night. It's really, he's a very committed person. He's a very serious person. And he's a very high IQ people. I like high IQ people. Not all have to be, but, it'd be nice to have some people up there that he's a seriously high IQ individual. Now, he's got his faults also, I will tell you that. But not too many of them, which is now really waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse. And they're curbing inflation and saving taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every single day. And there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt, which is, if you look at value, if it were a real estate balance sheet, the debt is tiny, but we still want to pay it down. Doesn't matter. We don't look at it as a piece of real estate. It's America. We're going to get it down through intelligence, hard work, and as Elon said, a word called caring. You have to care. By doing this, Americans will tell us where there's waste. They'll be reporting it themselves. They participate in the process of saving money. So many of the men and women in this room, as an example, they pay tremendous amounts of taxes, And here are just a few examples of where your money was going before I came along. These are just some of the, just taken at random. Oh, there are much worse examples than this. I was just looking at them before the speech, and I can tell you they were much worse. And there are some that are horrible, but I don't want to really say them because they're very, very embarrassing to people. Very, very embarrassing. And they're really something, but you'll be seeing it and you will be reading about it. But just some taken at random, $2 million for sex change operations in Guatemala, $20 million for Sesame Street performances in Iraq. $20 million, that's a lot of money. You know, I know what it costs to do those things. You get a cast over for $50,000, give them a couple of bucks tip, and that's it, not 20 million. 20 million, that's Gone with the Wind on steroids. $101 million for 29 diversity, equity, and inclusion contracts at the Department of Education. Wow. And we've also canceled all of these, saved all of this money. And again, this is just a small sample. This could go on. I could read them all day. $520 million for a consultant. I want to know who is that consultant? To do ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance investments in Africa. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and illicit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in Colombia. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that even means. None of this stuff, everyone's trying to figure out what the hell does it all mean? $42 million for social and behavior changes in Uganda. 40 million's a lot of newspaper ads in Uganda. $70 million for research of evidence-based solutions for development challenges. $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. What does that mean? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive, participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Wow, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. $21 million for India elections, $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh, $20 million for fiscal federalism, and $19 million in addition to the $21 million for biodiversity conversion in Nepal, $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. We need voter confidence too when you read this list. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa, $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. We don't need to give them money. And in another program, $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. Do you know about that? $100 million for condoms. Condoms. Does everybody know what a condom is? For Hamas, $100 million. And these are just some. I could read this list all day long. I just don't want to bore you. But these are just some, and not nearly as bad as others. And some are just, I just don't want to say them because they're too incendiary. We're also finding tremendous abuse, waste, and fraud in Social Security. Social Security is, what's happening there is going to be one of the great potential scandals in history. On the program, there are over 4.7 million Social Security numbers from people from 100 years old to 109. Think of that. Now, over 100, there aren't a lot of people that make it. Hopefully, most of the people in this room will make it, but historically, you don't have thousands and thousands of people. But listen to this, 3.6 million people are on Social Security rolls from the age of 110 years old to 119. Do you think there are really that many? Those people are seriously old. But it gets worse. 3.47 million people are on Social Security from the age of 120 years old to 129 years old. 3.9 million people are on the age of Social Security from 130 years old to 139 years old. Now, the all-time record, I heard, is a woman who was 127 years old. That's the record. A woman from a certain country where they have actually people that live pretty long, actually. And she was 127 years old. That's pretty old. But we're topping her by millions of people. 3.5 million people from the age 140 to 149 years old. 1.3 million people are on Social Security from the age 150 to 159. And over 130,000 people are on Social Security over the age of 160 years old, okay? Including 1,039 people, think of it, over 1,000 people between the ages of 220 to 229. And one person between the age of 240 years old to 249. And the record topper, there is one person on Social Security who's 360 years old, which is approximately 110 years older than our country. So what we're trying to find out, and what we will find out, is are people being paid from all of these, you know, somebody pocketing 10,000 here, 10,000 there, what's going on? So we'll find that out pretty easily because we have a lot of computer geniuses. I said to Elon, who are these people that are doing this, the DOGE people? I said, who are they? Where do they come from? He said, well, number one, they love our country. Number two, they're really genius at computers. So nobody's going to fool them. When they go in, they see some bureaucrat that's scamming the country, and they try and talk about, you know, certain computer language. These people say, no, it doesn't work that way. These are people that have a natural ability as you know, brilliant computer people. It was very interesting when he told me that. I said, that's what you need today. But all of these scams have now been terminated. In addition, over the past month, we have effectively eliminated the U.S. Agency for International Development, which was funding much of this lunacy. We virtually shut down the out-of-control CFPB, escorting radical left bureaucrats out of the building and locking the doors behind them. What they were doing was so terrible. Where they were spending the money was so terrible. What we haven't looked at yet, but will be, is does the money come back to them? Because nobody can be stupid like that. And they're not stupid, they're smart, actually. And, you know, why are they doing that? Does money come back to them? So we'll figure that out pretty easily, I think, and quickly. But I've ended all of the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government and private sector, and notified every single government DEI officer that their jobs have been deleted. They're all deleted. And it's interesting, even these companies that have tremendous amounts of money. A number of them just announced, Walmart, if you can believe it, they just announced that they're stopping. And, you know, these companies are writing off like $220 million. How can you spend that much money no matter what you're doing? If you're teaching something, you're going to have an instructor, you're going to talk, you're going to give them a book. Please read the book. You know, then you find they spent $225 million on that. What's going on? And we were going in the wrong way, and our military was really, although I tell you, you know, we defeated ISIS with our military in 3 weeks. General Raisin Kane he's some general, he's a real general, not a television general. And 3 weeks ISIS, and I asked him, and I saw some of his people that were so great, the soldiers. We have the greatest military in the world, but we don't have the greatest top leadership. That's why Afghanistan was such a horrible situation and so embarrassing and so many other things. But when we want to, with proper leadership, there's nobody even close to us. We have the best equipment in the world. We make the best equipment in the world. But we have the best military. But, you know, we never fight to win. We fight to just keep it going forever. And when we fight to win, there's nobody that can even come close to us. But I was talking to General Dan Kane, we call him Raisin Kane, and I was told it would take about 4 years to defeat ISIS, and he did it in 3 weeks. I said to him, "What do you think, General? How long will it take?" "Sir, I think we should do it in less than 4 weeks. You're going to have time left over," and he did that. And we were told by the television generals it would take 4 years, so we did it. That's when I went to Iraq. I flew to Iraq. And late at night, the dark of night, all the windows closed, all the lights off in the plane, and Air Force One. And we flew in, and it was pretty amazing. I'll tell you, we were landing, and there were no lights in the plane. "Sir, we have to turn off all lights." I said, "You mean we spend $9 trillion, and we have to fly in an Air Force One with the lights off?" And I went up to the pilot, said hello. And by the way, these guys are like central casting. These are the best-looking human beings. Everybody is like perfect. The most handsome people, the best-looking people you've ever seen with the flat tops and the whole thing. And I was a little concerned because the lights are off, and everything's off, and even the lights in where he was were down, very dim, very, very dim, with all of the lights on the fancy dashboards of the plane, of Air Force One. We're getting a new Air Force One if they can ever finish the damn thing. We're getting 2 of them, actually. But we may have to go a different route because it's taken them a long time. We're going to get military that's going to start building. We're going to get people to start building properly again in our country because they don't build properly. This was Boeing. But we're up there, and I'm looking at these people. And again, I say, they look like Tom Cruise, but better. Stronger, tougher. And I like Tom Cruise, but these are better. And they said, "Are we okay, Captain?" "Yes, sir, we're fine." But I'm looking at it, I don't see any lights, and we're landing. And I'm used to that. I like to sit with the pilots a lot, and I respect the pilots greatly. And we're up there, and we have the computer. I call it the computer voice, where it goes 1,000, 900, 800. That's feet. Your feet above ground. So that means you're very low. And I'm looking out, and my eyes are pretty good, and I don't see any lights. And the computer goes out, sounds like an intelligent individual. It goes 1,000. We're 1,000 feet up. It's a 10-story building. There's a big plane. And then it goes 900, 800, 700. I say, "Captain, Captain, we don't see any lights. Is everything?" "Yes, sir, everything's fine, sir. We'll be landing in 3 minutes." And then it goes like 600, 500. "Captain, we okay?" And then he goes 400, 300, 200. And I'm saying, "Man, there's nothing out there." And then he goes, boom. Perfect landing right on this thing. There are no lights on the runway. There's no, I don't know how the hell they do it, but I'm sure as hell glad we had somebody that knows how to fly. But they didn't want to have any lights because they didn't want the enemy. After spending, years and trillions of dollars, we have to land with Air Force One with no lights on the runway. But they were incredible people. And then I got out of the plane, and I actually asked my people, I said, "Excuse me, I was very brave sitting in that cockpit. Am I allowed to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor?" And they said, "I don't think so, sir." I said, "Well, I felt I was extremely brave." But now here's the problem with saying a story like that when you kid. The press will say, "President Donald Trump wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor." Headlines, headlines all over, the fake news. We call it the fake news, but we're all wise to them. But it was something, and then I went down, and it was the same thing. I'm standing on the top, and I look down, and there's these handsome people. Everybody's like from a movie set, good-looking guys. I get down the stairs, and what's your name? My name is Kane, sir. What's your first name? They call me Raisin. I say, wait a minute, your name is Raisin Kane? I love you. I've been looking for you for 5 years. You are the great. This is what I want. And there was a general next to him. There was a colonel. There was a drill sergeant, a master sergeant. They were all like people. I could make a movie right now. I'd have the best-looking people ever. And they were great. And then I went in and, sir, would you like to rest before the bed? No, I don't want to rest. I don't want to rest. I've been resting on the plane, other than the last few moments, which were quite harrowing. And I said, I don't want to rest. He was thinking about Biden in advance, you know? Biden would have gone there. He would have rested for days. And then they wouldn't have had a meeting. He'd just go home. No, I said, I don't want to rest. I don't want to rest at all. I want to go. So we went into this like bunker, and we had a lot of very good, talented people. And that's when I asked him. I said, you know, I'm hearing it's going to take a long time. No, that's not right, sir. It's not going to take a long time. We'll have it done in 4 weeks. I said, how can you say 4 weeks when in Washington they said 4 years? He said, 4 weeks, sir. We'll hit them left, we'll hit them right, we'll hit them up the center, we'll hit them underground and overground. We'll knock the hell out of them, sir. And I said, why is it that they said so long? He said, because they wouldn't let us fight. And we're very far away. They want us to fight for this, from this airport. We're very, very far away, sir, and they want us to fight here. We have many substations out, sub-airports, they call them, remote airports, where they build them in the sand, and we have many of them, and I'd use them all, sir. And I would hit them so hard from so many different directions. I said, well, what do you think? He said, you just let me know. And I called him back, and I said, go ahead and do it. Are you sure you can do this, General? I said, yes, sir. And he did it actually in 3 weeks. It was over 100% of people that are really hurting the Middle East, hurting the world. And it was done. And we have, I'm telling you, we have the greatest military in the world, but you have to use the right people. But there's nothing like what they were able to do in that case and in other cases wherever I gave them something. It was done incredibly well and you know many of the instances because it's been well reported, but we've also required, and so we have a country that's a great country. It's a strong country, but it's a country that's just now gaining its respect back to the levels that it should have never lost. We were being laughed at by the entire world, but we're not being laughed at anymore. But we've also required that all federal employees must once again show up to work. It's a new phenomena, you know, since COVID. Show up to work in person like the rest of us. So, I mean, it doesn't work when you don't show up. And I see companies now are all going back to it. They're all going back. It's great. I watch some of the big business leaders saying, we absolutely are going back. You can't work at home. They're not working. They're playing tennis, they're playing golf, or they have other jobs. But they're not working, or they're certainly not working hard. You could never build a company or a country with that. So we have a very strong policy, and if they don't show up to work, they get fired. And we're trying to make our government smaller but much stronger. And we have tremendous bureaucracy, but it's happening. A lot of people are leaving, and in some cases leaving with pretty good offers. You know, you're paid 7 or 8 months and go out, find a job. But some of these people had jobs. They were actually working for us, but they also had other jobs. And those people, in theory, they have problems. I don't know if we're going to do anything about that. So we have other things to do, but they were working other jobs instead of working for us. So they were staying home working, but they were working other jobs, getting paid a lot of money, perhaps. We offered deferred resignation buyouts to all federal workers, resulting in more than 75,000 bureaucrats voluntarily surrendering their taxpayer-funded jobs. A lot of them are leaving because they don't want to be caught having the second job. Some are leaving because they didn't want to be in government any longer. And some are leaving because they didn't want to show up to work. They wanted to work outside of an office. And that's never going to work for anybody, including companies. Companies ought to get smart. You watch these companies where they do that. They start going bad. Nobody knows what's wrong with this company. Well, try getting the people back into the office where they can be cohesive and together. In less than a single month, the Department of Government Efficiency has already saved over this is just a short period of time, $55 billion And we're just getting started. That's nothing compared to the numbers that you're talking about, right? We're ending trillions of dollars in waste, and it'll mean much lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower payments on mortgages, credit cards, car loans, and much higher stock markets. I think the stock market's going to be great. In other words, we will rapidly grow our economy by dramatically shrinking the federal government, and we have to do it. I'm also taking fast action to end the radical left's nation-wrecking crusade against oil and natural gas. Over the past 4 years, the Biden administration cut the number of new oil leases and gas leases by 95%. They slowed new pipeline. I mean, look at the Dakota Access, they wanted that one knocked out. The Keystone Pipeline, they wanted that one knocked out. They ended the Keystone. We got the Dakota Access done, but it wasn't easy after they tried to stop it. They slowed new oil and gas pipeline construction to virtually a halt. They shut down 38% of active oil and gas rigs in the United States, but they love the wind turbines. They go round and round and round, and if the wind doesn't blow, they got problems. They kill all the birds, they ruin the sight lines, they ruin the plains and the beautiful areas of our country, including the oceans, the lakes. They closed more than 50 power plants, all causing energy prices to skyrocket. You saw that happen. That's what caused inflation, pretty easy. These policies were so destructive that despite draining nearly 40% of U.S. strategic petroleum reserve meant for emergencies, it was meant for emergencies. It wasn't meant for getting a price of gasoline down so that you can win an election. It didn't work for winning the election. Actually, there's so many people that are driving that it's a very small number, just had a very small effect, but in the meantime, it takes it down. We'll fill it up fast, but it's at the lowest level. When we made the transition, it was at the lowest level in history, ever recorded. It's the lowest level. Nobody's ever seen it that way. They put it all out because they thought they could keep gasoline prices down a little bit, just go past the election, and after that, they didn't care. And it didn't work because they didn't get elected. I got elected. But the price of gasoline still rose over 35%, and in some cases, at some periods, it was 100% and 125% during certain periods of time. Under the Trump administration, we have implemented a very different plan. You probably heard of it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. And we're doing it. The world runs on low-cost energy, and energy-producing nations like us have nothing to apologize for. We have more energy than any other nation in the world, and we're going to use it. And we're going to use it on AI plants. I was telling some of the people that came in that, they're very into, everybody's talking about AI. I hope you're right. I don't know, who knows? But Elon, are they right? Are they right in going, they are all in for AI, but the problem is, to do it, just in our country, you need twice the electricity just to open up and be the top of AI. You need twice the electricity that we have right now in the entire country. If you take all of the electricity, you need more than twice. You need double what we have right now just to fuel this new industry that's growing. I was amazed when I heard that number. And they all said, how can we do this? Because, in China and various other places, you can probably get it with the shake of a hand. But in our country, you can't. But now you can, because I'm declaring a national emergency in order to get fast approvals. And we're going to have, if you build a plant, you're able to build an electric generating facility right next to your plant. So you'll be making your own. You won't have to count on utilities. You won't have to count on an old grid that could fail, could get hit by something, bad things or good things. But you're not going to have to worry about grids. You'll build your plant, and you'll build essentially you'll become a utility in a way. You'll build your own electricity. If you want to build extra and put it out and get paid for that, you're going to be able to do that. You could put it back into the grid, but you're going to be able to build with your plant a generating facility. And we're going to get you Lee Zeldin, head of the environment, head of environmental, the environmental group, various groups, and we've got them unified now, but we're going to get you very fast approvals, and they'll be approved so fast your head will spin. And we're going to get that whole industry started, and we're going to be the head of it. We're leading right now. We have the greatest brain power. We're leading right now, and I expect that we're going to be leading by a lot, but we're going to get you the energy very, very quickly. That would be the one thing that everybody was concerned. How do we have that much electricity when Los Angeles has blackouts and brownouts right now? And there's a lack of electricity, but we're going to get it at levels never seen before. I ended the ridiculous Green New Scam, halting tens of billions of dollars of wasteful deficit spending. And I withdrew the United States from the unfair one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I ended Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate because it was just insane. I repealed the last, and by the way, if you want to buy an electric car, it's great. If you want to buy a gasoline-driven car or a hybrid, it's great. Whatever the thing happens to be. I heard hydrogen's hot. The problem is when it's not, you're in deep trouble, because when that sucker blows up, they don't find the body. So that's one that I said, you know what, let's take a pass on that one. They said it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. You find the bodies on trees, on the side of a tree. I said, I think we'll pass on that one, right? We're not going to want that one. But you never know. Maybe someday it'll be good, but it doesn't sound like it's off to a good start. I repealed the last administration's very destructive natural gas export ban. And last week we approved our first new liquefied natural gas export license, and we have literally hundreds of people that want to export. I recently met with the Japanese Prime Minister, Shiba, to discuss large increases in American oil and gas exports. They want it so badly. They said we went to the Biden administration, they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't sell it. Nobody knows why. Biden didn't know why either. They asked him, I don't know. They did, oh, I didn't know that. But we're going to sell it, and the new project in Alaska is going to feed all of Asia. We're going to take care of all of Asia. We have so much oil and gas, like very few people, like very few countries have, like really actually no country has. I also met with Prime Minister Modi of India, who wants to greatly expand India's purchase of American energy, and my administration has also launched the most aggressive deregulation program of any nation in history. Under my executive order, for every one new regulation added, 10 old regulations have to be eliminated. And you know, in our first term, which was actually an incredible success, we had the greatest economy in history until COVID, and even after that, we did great. The stock market was higher. If you think of it, it was higher after the fact. After we went through that whole thing, it was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in, which is a pretty amazing thing. But we did a great job on that, but it was a terrible thing for the world. The whole world suffered. It suffered terribly, including China, including other countries. It was a terrible period of time. But despite that, we did well. But we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I think this time we're going to do even better. We were artificially hurt by COVID. We had to focus on that instead of focusing on, but just prior to COVID coming in, there's never been anything like what we did, what we achieved. And even after, we did very well, and especially considering what all of us had to do with COVID. Some nations were hit so badly, it's just unbelievable what happened to them. As part of our effort, I've signed executive orders to keep the United States at the forefront of artificial intelligence and to end Joe Biden's war on Bitcoin and crypto. We ended that war totally. That war is over. They were very hostile toward them until the very end, just because there's so many people on Bitcoin and crypto that just before the end, the SEC came out and they were being very nice. I was so nice to people because so many people were being indicted for no reason whatsoever. Very political group of people. That's all they did was they liked indicting people, but they were being indicted, and many of those indictments were dropped just before the election because they said, wait a minute, there's 100 million, 125 million people using this, and they didn't want to have, you know, all these people being voted against. But by the time they did that, it was too late. We had that vote entirely, I think. I think anybody smart that believed in that, and there are a lot of people believing it, anybody that was smart voted for Trump. And they pulled the indictments, and I see people that were indicted. I said, I saved your life. I saved your life. Because if they thought that, they actually thought that I was doing it. They said, why is Trump doing it? Is he doing it for political reasons? I don't do anything for political reasons. I do what's right. I want to be in the forefront of every industry. So I'll be working with the Republican Congress to pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And that includes, obviously, that includes we have to extend the Trump tax cuts, which were, until now, the largest. We're going to dramatically cut taxes for families and for workers and for companies, including no tax on tips and hopefully no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime. And that overtime one is a sleeper because I think a lot of people are going to be spurred on to do a lot of extra work. When they hear that, it's a lot of companies really like it, and a lot of people really like it. The new Trump tax cuts will also include 100% expensing for new factory construction in the United States and anything else that you're going to buy with capital. If you buy something that is going to be good for our country, we're going to let you expense it, 1 year expense. And I did that the first time, and everybody was saying, can you go back to that? Now you still get, I guess, 40% or whatever, but it pares down. But we're going to bring that right up to the top level. I think that had a lot to do with the success that I had during my first term. And we'll substantially cut taxes for all domestic producers of oil and gas and just about everything else that they produce. In my first term, I brought the business tax down from around 40% to 21%, which everybody said was an impossible thing to do. I cut it from 40. It actually was state and city was much higher than 40, but I got it down to 21%, and now I'm bringing it down to a goal of 15%, but only if you make your product in America. In other words, you're going to be at 21%, but if you make your product in America, you're going to go from 21 to 15. If you don't, you're going to pay 21%, which is still lower than anything. So guys like Elon are going to come and make his great cars in the United States. There are a lot of people will. A lot of people are calling. A lot of car companies are calling. They called me, three of the majors. They called and they said, we're looking all over the place. We want to be there. I'm going to be announcing tariffs on cars and semiconductors and chips and pharmaceuticals, drugs and pharmaceuticals and lumber probably and some other things over the next month or sooner. And it's going to have a big impact on America. We're bringing our businesses back. If they don't make their product in America, then they have to pay a tariff. But if they do make their product in America, they don't have to pay any tariff, which will it's all going to bring trillions of dollars into our treasury, or it's going to mean that there won't be any taxes because we want to have a fair base. If they don't have it, we don't have it. If they don't pay, if they don't charge us, we don't charge them. It's pretty simple. The Republican Party is once again the party of common sense. We're a party of common sense. We want strong borders. We don't want men playing in women's sports. We don't want to have transgender for everybody. We're the party of common sense. That's how we won the election in such a big manner. We'll no longer allow other countries to ransack and plunder our nation. That's why I've announced that we will soon begin imposing reciprocal tariffs on any country that engages in unfair and unequal trading practices. If they tariff us, as I said, we will tariff them at the exact same rate. So if a certain country, because some of these countries, even countries that I've already mentioned, are extremely aggressive with tariffs. Nobody knows that. European Union, they have a VAT tax that's devastating. It's very tough for people on the outside. Hard to sell cars, really impossible to sell them because they also have non-monetary tariffs that are very, very tough. But if you take a look at that, it's a very unfair situation. And the VAT tax is similar to the tariff. Around the world, I'm moving quickly to end wars, settle conflicts, and restore the planet to peace. I want peace, and I don't want to see everybody being killed. And you take a look at the death in the Middle East and the death that's taking place between Russia and Ukraine. It's been going on, and we're going to end it. There's no profit for anyone in having World War III, and you're not so far away from it. I'll tell you right now, you're not so far away. If we would have had this administration for another year, you would have been in World War III, and now it's not going to happen. In the Middle East, I've restored my policy of maximum pressure on Iran, designed to bring peace. And we've designated the Houthis a terrorist organization. They're destroying shipping lanes all over the place. They're making it very hard for people to get their product delivered. They're making it very difficult, but we'll take care of that situation. And we've secured a ceasefire in Gaza, and we're bringing in the hostages, and we're bringing them home to their families. Some of them are in pretty bad shape, I have to tell you. To end the horrible war in Ukraine, I've spoken with President Putin and President Zelensky, and our teams began negotiations this week in Saudi Arabia. I want to thank Saudi Arabia for that. That was so great. Yeah. And I want to thank, in particular, I mean, we have so many of the people, Yasser, Mohammed, all of the people, but in particular, we have to thank Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for hosting these historic talks. And talks that went very, very well. Steve was there, Steve Witkoff was there, and Michael was there, Michael Waltz and others, and they really went well. It's a big step. We got to get that war over with. You have to see the people that are dying. I look at the pictures, the satellite pictures of the field. It's a level field, and it looks like a modern-day version of Gettysburg, and you know what that means. It is just carnage. It's horrible. And, it's not American soldiers. It's not even soldiers from the Middle East in the case of Ukraine, Russia, but it's people, it's young people from Russia and Ukraine mostly that are just being decimated. It's flat fields. And a bullet goes, and a bullet only stops when it hits somebody. And the level of people being killed in that battle, soldiers, young soldiers, in some cases old soldiers, because they're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers, in one case. But think of it, a modestly successful comedian, President Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won, that never had to start and never would have started if I was president, not even a chance. And it didn't start for 4 years, never would have started. But a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. They'll never settle that war without our involvement. That's why they did such a great job this weekend. That's why Saudi Arabia did such a great job this weekend in hosting. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed. They get their money back. It's a form of a loan. Nobody knows that. I know that. I said, why isn't somebody saying, we do it the same way? And we spent much more money. We have to equalize, but while the United States gets nothing back, so they get their money back. It's a loan. We just give our money. And we had a deal based on rare earth and things, but they broke that deal. But they broke it 2 days ago. We had a deal because I said, we're spending $350 billion, and Europe gets their money back in the form of a loan, and we don't. We're just giving the money hand over fist. That's the Biden administration for you. But they're no longer dealing with the same United States as they were dealing with a few months ago. Why didn't crooked Joe Biden demand equalization, and that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us, and that there's a very big, beautiful ocean, a separation? This is, we're helping Europe. We're trying to help Europe. On top of this, Zelensky admits that half of the money that we sent them is missing. They don't know where the money is. He said, well, we don't know where half of it is. That's great, wonderful. He refuses to have elections. It's low in the real Ukrainian polls. I mean, how can you be high with every city is being demolished? It's hard to be high. Somebody said, oh, no, his polls are good. Give me a break. Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site, every single one of them. And the only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use, Yasser, to say that he's pretty easy. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast, or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast, because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit that only Trump is going to be able to do in the Trump administration. We're going to be able to do it. I think Putin even admitted that. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably maybe he wants to keep the gravy train going. I don't know what's the problem, but he hasn't been able. He's very upset that he wasn't invited. He could have come if he wanted to, but that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia. But he's been working for 3 years. There's never been even meetings or phone calls to stop this war. It's a horrible thing. I figure Russia's lost 900,000 soldiers. I think that Ukraine's lost probably 700,000. And it's a terrible thing. You'll see bodies and body parts all over the field, all over. We see them very accurately through satellites. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years. So we hope to see a ceasefire soon and to reestablish stability in Europe and the Middle East. But thank you very much. And as I've said before, it's my hope that my greatest legacy will be as a peacemaker and a unifier. That would be a great legacy. So in conclusion, the golden age of America is upon us, and I'm inviting everyone here today and every citizen across our land to take part in the most extraordinary period of peace, prosperity, growth, innovation, wealth creation, and expansion the world has ever seen. We're on our way. I mean, everyone's talking about us. 3 weeks. We're in there for a couple of days more than 3 weeks. And everyone's talking about it. You have to see the crowds of people outside. It's pretty amazing what's happening. We're on the verge of soaring markets, surging incomes, booming production, groundbreaking technologies, thrilling discoveries, and a quantum leap in the quality of life. Absolutely a quantum leap. One day, very soon, our country will have the greatest economy in the history of the world because we once again have a president who puts America first, and we put America first, and your country should put your country first. But in the end, we want America first, and when it's all beautiful, which it's going to be pretty soon, we want to help other countries, and you want to help other countries. But, you know, I tell your leaders, and some of the leaders are in this room right now, you got to put your country first. Whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's something else, you got to put your country first. But we're going to have plenty left over to help others also. As long as you invest in America, build in America, and hire in America, that means that I'm fighting for you. I am fighting very hard for you. Together, we're going to make the United States of America bigger, better, bolder, richer, and greater than ever before. It's going to be stronger than ever before. We're going to be a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. We're going to stop people from these stupid, never-ending wars. We're not going to partake in them ourselves, but we'll be stronger and more powerful than anybody by far. And if it ever came to war, there is nobody that will be able to come close to us. But we don't think that's going to ever happen. So I want to thank you all very much. It's a great honor to be here. And I think somebody said they're going to ask questions. And I didn't say, gee, what are the questions like Biden does? I say, just ask. It doesn't matter. You ask a question and I give an answer. So I think, Richard, you're going to come up and you're going to give me some questions. Thank you very much.
Hey, we're going to get some questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
He's going to take some questions.
A round of applause
guys.
for
Let's see what
President
happens.
of the United States of America. Thank you.
He is going to take some questions. Bonus questions.
Mr. President, thank you for accepting to take a few questions. 20 years ago, I don't know if you will remember, we were under the same roof in Orlando, and you were delivering an amazing speech in front of 3,000 sales reps, giving them the best advice to be successful. So what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
Well, I think it was watching my father. You know, my father was a very hard worker, and he just worked hard. And he was very smart. He had good genetics. His brother was the longest-serving professor in the history of MIT, Dr. John Trump. And my father was every bit as smart. But my father had to work. He was older, and he put his brother through school. In fact, he once said, boy, I put him through so much school. He had 3 different degrees. And they asked him to stay on at MIT, but my father was the same ilk. And I noticed that my father was a happy man. And what he did is he worked. He just worked all the time. He worked. And he loved it. And really, I think the best piece of advice I got from that is you have to love what you do. And if you love what you do, you're going to have a happy life. If you don't, I mean, I see so many people, they're in businesses that they don't want to be in. they're in businesses that, they're bored in or they're not good at. They don't have a natural ability at it. There is such a thing as natural ability, whether it's sports or acting or anything else. I mean, some people have an ability for something. Try and find that ability, but you have to love what you do. If you love what you do, you're going to be, at least you have a good chance of being successful.
Mr. President, it's almost time for an early dinner. So if you are throwing a dinner party and you can invite 3 fascinating guests, living or dead, who would you bring?
Well, they're all sitting right in the front row. Yes, sir. Are you ready? Mohammed, are you ready? Steve Witkoff, and we have the most important person, at least until the World Cup is over, is here. Johnny, stand up. He gave the United States the World Cup. Johnny, thank you very much. I didn't know you were here. That's very good. He's the king of soccer. That's not bad. And you've done a fantastic job. But it's very interesting. When I was president, I got the World Cup, and I got all of the, we have the 250 anniversary, so that fell in this administration. That's a big deal, 250 years. But we have all of these things happening, and I also got the Olympics. And I was called by the mayor of Los Angeles, sir, would you call up the Olympic Committee, because it was at that time President Obama will not take their phone call, and we're going to get the Olympics in Los Angeles. And by the way, they've recommitted to Los Angeles at a level that, I was very worried about that. And they've, the opposite, somebody could have said, well, we're going to do it someplace else, until they have actually recommitted. They're going to make it bigger and better than ever. So I want to let you know that. But I had the Olympics. So I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I said, and the 250, but that one I didn't get. But it was there. It was in this term. And I ran an election, and we did fantastic in 2016. We did much better, millions and millions, tens of millions, but millions and millions of votes better. And bad things happened, and I didn't get that one. And I said, when I originally signed the Olympics, I said, I won't be able to even be president. And I got the Olympics, because if I didn't, when I spoke with the people, the organizing committee and the people in different parts of the world, they asked me to do it because the president wouldn't do it. I was president-elect, and I gave them a talk. I couldn't get them off the phone. They were starving for love. And the bottom line, they gave us the Olympics. And I said, isn't it sad I won't be president? Then we had the election result, and now I'm president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So I'm very happy about that, Johnny. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be there. I promise I'll be there.
And by the way, Mr. President, backstage you have a gift from Johnny. He gave us the first ball with your name, which will be played for the World Cup.
That's great.
In America.
It's going to be great. Thank you, Johnny, very much.
I doubt that any day you will take a sabbatical year, but if you could take a sabbatical year, Mr. President, what unconventional thing would you do?
What was the word?
Sabbatical. You don't work for 1 year.
I thought you said Sabbath. It's a big difference. It's almost the opposite when you think about it, right? I think what I do is, look, what I'm doing now is the most exciting job in the world. It's a hard job, not an easy job. It's a nasty job. It could be a lot easier with, I think that the news media has to straighten themselves out, because people are getting it. They're losing tremendous popularity, and they've lost their prestige, and they've lost their credibility. And I think it's a very important thing, the news media, but I think they have to straighten themselves out, because the people are going around them now. They have so many different things with, like Elon with X, which was a big thing, and we have Truth, which has been fantastic, and we have so many other things that you don't really need traditional. But I will tell you that there is just nothing I could do to enjoy my life, whether it's that or anything else that you'd ask, because this is the ultimate. I mean, I had to make a big decision, and it was a very risky decision, because if I would have lost, my life would have been a much different life. It would have been a very nasty life. They were going after me at levels that nobody's ever seen before. Not Andrew Jackson, not Abraham Lincoln. The historians say that the president that was treated the worst by far by the media and overall was Andrew Jackson. In fact, his wife died of heartbreak. They were treated really rough. And Abraham Lincoln was second, but he had a civil war. You can understand that. But nobody was treated like me, nobody. And I will tell you, you learn a lot about yourself. But there's nothing I'd rather do. I had to make a decision. Do I do this? Because if I lost, it would have been very, very bad. It was dangerous, actually, very dangerous in so many different ways. And I decided to do it. And I said, I have to win, because if I don't win, I spoke to a friend of mine the other night. He said, you know, if you lost, it would have been very, it was actually Sean Hannity just before we did the interview last night. He said, boy, if you would have lost, you would have had a tough life. You would have had a very tough life. So there was a certain amount of courage involved in this decision to run, and it's a great honor to win by this much, to win all 7 swing states, the popular vote. Popular vote doesn't get won that much by Republicans for whatever reason. I think that's changing because, again, we're the party of common sense, and they're the party of some real bad things, and I think they'll change. I think they have to change. It would be wonderful. I'm going to be having lunch with some of the Democrats next week, and it would be wonderful if we could work together. I think working together would be great. But they have to change. You can't get elected on the programs that they want, and that's really what America wants to see. So there's nothing I'd rather do than what I'm doing right now.
When we started this conference, Mr. President, when we started this conference, Yasser and I, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince told us, I want that to be the place where people will come to understand where to invest in terms of geographies and sector. So what is the best investment you have made in your personal growth, Mr. President?
Well, I was involved in real estate from, most of my life, and was, guys like Witkoff will tell you I was really good at it, and I was successful at it, very successful at it. I've been involved in things prior to being president, but during the last 4 years, I followed sort of the trends, and I've made a lot of money with following some of these trends. And, it's, again, it's something that you do. I really believe that some people have instinct. I think I've always had an instinct for making money. I make money. And I went into show business. I had one of the most successful shows on television. I wrote books, and they were all bestsellers. Virtually every book was a big bestseller, some really big bestsellers. And so I don't know, it's whatever I do, I just want to make it successful. It's very important to me. There are many ways to make money. You can be in many different fields. And a lot of them is being in the right country. If you're in a certain country, our country is actually getting very bad, a very dangerous place, actually. Bad things were happening. But if you're in a certain country, you have a chance to do well. And no matter how good you are, if you were born into the wrong country, you're not going to make money. Now, you can do other things. You can attain power, I guess. Maybe it's the wrong kind of power, but it's power. But being in the right country, where you have the right incentives and, entrepreneurship, et cetera, and America has always been sort of at the top, or one of the top, but always pretty much at the top. But it was losing that position, and I think losing it rapidly. This last administration, look, I don't want to be, I wish I could say, I wouldn't have run. If I thought Biden was doing a good job, if I thought I wouldn't have run. Because as I said, it was very dangerous to run in a lot of ways. In fact, my ear will show that when you look at it closely. My ear, I have that throbbing feeling every once in a while, but it was dangerous in a lot of different ways. But he was so bad that I had no choice but to do it. If I thought he was doing a great job, I wouldn't have run, and I would be very happy. I actually wanted him to do a good job. I was saying, do this, do that. I'm telling them, do things. They should have done what I said. And but I would have been very happy not to have run, and frankly, to have seen somebody do a good job. But our country was going to hell, and I really sort of had to run.
If you were a historical ruler, would you prefer to rule during war or peace?
Well, I want to be, again, a peacemaker, and I want to keep us out of war. But sometimes to do that, you have to have a very strong country. You have to have a very strong military. And as I said, we have a much stronger military than anyone would know. We have the best equipment. And I bought a lot of it. I rebuilt our military in the first 4 years. I rebuilt it. We gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan, to the Taliban. Stupidly, but that's a very small amount relative. It was billions and billions, but it's still a very small amount relatively to what we built. But I largely rebuilt our military. Now I'm going to have to do it again because so much has been given away, so much has been treated so badly. But to keep peace, you really have to. I have a thing: strength through, and I mean it. You really have it. strength, and you need the strength, but it's really peace through strength, because without the strength, it's going to be very hard to have peace, because you're going to be taken over, bad things are going to happen. So you really want to have peace through strength, and that's where I've done it. Having strength, having power in that sense to protect yourself and your people is a very important thing. Hopefully you don't have to use that power. I will tell you, I was dealing with President Putin very successfully on denuclearization. We were talking about it very seriously, and then COVID came and lots of things came, and we had also talked to China about it. Now, Russia and us have the biggest nuclear by far. China is not close, but they will be close. In 3 or 4 years or 5 years, they'll be equal. But we were going to talk to China, and I spoke to President Xi about it very successfully. I think we were going to denuclearize it. We would have had to get the smaller nuclear powers, of which there are 4, 3 maybe, but 4 probably, to do something. We would have been able to do that. But I was having very strong talks with President Putin about denuclearization. And, you know, if you're president, you get presentations about what we're building, what we're having, the power of weapons, the power of many things besides weapons per se. What I saw, the power of nuclear weapons, and we can never let that happen. If that happens, the ball game will be, the world will be destroyed. The power is so enormous. You look at Hiroshima, you look at Nagasaki, multiply that times 500 times, and the world would be destroyed. So you want somebody as your president, or you want somebody as your leader that understands that. We just can't let that happen. We can't let other countries get nuclear weapons. Not only Iran. Iran is a good example, and maybe the one that people think about, but we can't let that happen. The power of weaponry today is so enormous that the world would disintegrate, so we can't let it happen.
Mr. President, if you had to describe United States of America in just 3 words, what would they be?
In 3 words?
3 words.
Love, respect, and strength. That's a tough question. That might be my best answer, Yasser. That reminds me of high school, that one, but that may have been the toughest question, actually. Do you think Joe Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think so.
We're almost at the end, Mr. President, but talking about United States of America, what is one cultural habit in the US business that the rest of the world could learn from? What is the best practice that
Well, I think we love our families, but I think a lot of the world loves their families. You know, I was speaking to the head of Mexico because I complain constantly about people pouring in. Now our border is the strongest border we've ever had. We've gone from the worst border ever in history to the strongest border. But I was speaking to the president of Mexico, a very wonderful woman, actually, and I said, we were talking about drugs. You can't let people come through your country and come into the country. You know, I was not that nice, but they understood what I was saying. And she said something that really got me. She said, I said, you're not a big drug-taking nation? And she said, no, we are not a consumer. And I said, a consumer, what an interesting word. We're not a consumer nation. We're not a consumer of drugs. I said, what an interesting, and why is that? She said, well, we have very strong family values. I said, but we do too. We do too. We have very strong. Our families are devastated by what's happening with fentanyl, and China will not be doing. We're going to make a deal with China. They were not letting that happen anymore. And I had a deal, by the way, before I left. I had a deal with President Xi where they were going to give the maximum penalty to anybody making fentanyl and sending it into the United States. And their maximum penalty is the death penalty, and it would have stopped. But when the election turned out to be a rigged election, but that's okay. When an election turned out to be, it was an election that shouldn't have happened. All the things that happened. I'll give you an example. We wouldn't have had October 7th, Israel attack. We wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. We wouldn't have had inflation. We wouldn't have had all of these things that, happened. But in speaking with her, she said about family values, I said, well, you're not really saying anything there because we have great families too. We have great family values. She said, plus we advertise a lot. I said, ooh, you mean you advertise about how bad drugs are? Yes, we do. We spend a lot of money on advertising. And I said, unbelievable. That was such a great conversation because we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars advertising how bad drugs are so that kids don't use them, that they chew up your brain, they destroy your teeth, your skin, your everything. And I thanked her for that. You know, I make so many calls and I never learn anything from anybody. I know everything and I never learn anything from anybody. And I spoke to this woman. As soon as she said it, she didn't have to say exactly what. I said, exactly, what a great idea. And I think we're going to have, and I saw pieces of it, we're going to go in with $100 million and then another $100 million initially. But I saw some of the ads and they are really violent. I said, you have to make them strong. Your skin practically comes off after a period of time. You lose your hearing. You lose your teeth. It is terrible. And we show this happening to people. And I think we're going to, you know, we did very well with, we had blue ribbon committees headed up by the First Lady of the United States and a lot of other people that, you know, they have no idea the viciousness of these cartels and these people. And they're smarts. I mean, they're very smart, tough people, making a fortune, by the way, an absolute fortune. But we got it down 18%, which was a record. But 18% is not great when you think about it. I think we could get it down 50 or 55 or maybe even 60% with advertising. So she really gave me something. I was going to call her and tell her that she did, but now I don't have to call her because she's going to be seeing this right now. So to the President of Mexico, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But we're going to do a great advertising campaign saying how bad it is, how drugs are so bad for you.
My last question, Mr. President. You have mentioned briefly in your speech about the legacy. What would you like your legacy to be, if you can tell us more about it?
That I came into a country that was great, but is in trouble. And I made America great again, and I got it out of trouble, and people respect America now, and we were a country of peace, and we brought peace to the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I got to turn off the music. I can't play YMCA, but they are playing YMCA at the business event hosted by the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund. We just saw President Trump speak. Did he make any huge news today? I don't think so at this speech. I mean, some of the stuff was certainly interesting. He basically read his controversial post-social media. There's Elon dancing right there. Elon Musk is dancing in the crowd to YMCA, it looks like, as we watch this live. But he did basically, I think he read his controversial Truth Social post about Zelensky. Okay, so that was the remarks there. So I'm going to take some comments from you guys now. I want to hear from you, your thoughts about this speech. What did you think? At Lookner on X, and we'll talk about a couple of the things he discussed. Oh, by the way, a quick thanks, by the way, to Chris Canada, Quebec City for your support, Jason Derp, Northwoods Hiker, Maga since 1492, Elizabeth Caleb, Beam Me Up, Lore, Red Squirrel 82, Christine, All That's Random, and PZ Papa Zulu, and Sean TV. Thanks so much, Sean TV. I'm going to read some of your comments now. You can write to me at Lookner on X. Hang on one moment here. Let me take some comments from you guys. Let's see here. Mammy Washington said, great job. This guy's energy level is unbelievable. He nailed it. Awakes One said, awful and complete narcissism. We have some disagreements. Joshua A says he's getting better at it. I don't know if he means the dancing or the speaking. Mostly Dolls and Helicopters says, I like listening to him speak. Star Tamer says weak speech. Tabitha Veers thinks it was exhausting. Let's see here. We should talk about the Zelensky stuff for a second. That's a pretty big thing. Oh, thank you to John Teal. Jen Teal, thanks for your support. Jen says he actually said he knows everything. I didn't catch him saying exactly that. I mean, I maybe he did and I missed it. Dutchson says, I think people make things too personal. It's politics. One side likes it, the other doesn't. Same old, IMO. That's from Dutch, our viewer. Thanks for commenting, Dutch. Douthis says, I was hoping for some actual questions and maybe even some actual answers. So this wasn't a press conference. I know what you're saying. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if I don't know how it works, but given that it's a business conference and he spoke, so I wouldn't be surprised if like he was paid or they made some contribution to the Trump library or, I mean, because like he doesn't have to speak at this thing. You know, now maybe he spoke because he wanted to do it for the benefit of relations with Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but you know, it's not like it's a mandatory event. It's not like an event with a world leader that he's meeting with to negotiate something. It's not like a regular scheduled press conference. So, you know, it's more of like an optional thing that he chose to do. So given that it was this optional thing, I'm not surprised they didn't have like, you know, hard-hitting questions. Trance thought it was repetitive. Terry Bryan says Trump loves people. Guerrilla marketing says Saudis buying him off. Now our viewer says it was Jim's. Where is it? Jim something said it was an invitation to invest in the U.S. Maybe he did it because he wanted to increase investment in the U.S. Joshua A. thinks he is trying to attract businesses to America. Should we talk for a second about the Zelensky thing? I mean, that's pretty big news. And again, he basically repeated his post today about Zelensky, and he talked about it more. Very negative about Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine. Very negative. Very negative. Let me show you that. Not let me show you. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to show you something about it. Hold on, let me just do this real quick. Hang on a second here. Let me just put this. I realize the graphic is missing from over my shoulder. So we should throw that up for a second. If I can pull it up here, there's that. Okay, can we put it up there? That's better. Okay. Oops. Let me get rid of this thing and this thing and this and this. Okay. You can see here, Trump and Zelensky trade barbs as U.S.-Ukraine relations sour over the war in Russia. That is a headline from AP. And then here is a headline from Reuters. Trump tells, quote, dictator Zelensky to move fast or lose Ukraine. Yes, he's called him a dictator. He did this in the speech today, and I think in his post. Oh, I have a little video I can play about this too. Hold on a second. In a second I will. In a second I'll play you the video too. Let's do this real quick. Why is this thing not behaving? Ooh, here we go. All right, it's downloading. Here is a little background here on this. You can see Trump tells dictator Zelensky to move fast or lose Ukraine. U.S. President Trump, this was maybe the most striking part of the speech to me when he started saying this stuff again. U.S. President Trump denounced Ukrainian President Zelensky as a dictator today and warned that Zelensky had to move quickly to secure peace or risk losing his country, deepening a feud between the two leaders that has alarmed European officials. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take my headphones out for a second. Actually, I'm going to leave my headphones on. I'm going to leave them on. The extraordinary attacks, whatever you think about them, I certainly think they are extraordinary. A day after Trump claimed that Ukraine was to blame for Russia's 2022 invasion, heightened concerns among U.S. allies in Europe that Trump's approach to ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict could benefit Moscow. Less than a month into his presidency, Trump has upended U.S. policy on the war, ending a campaign to isolate Russia with a Trump-Putin phone call and talks between senior U.S. and Russian officials that have sidelined Ukraine. Trump wrote on social media, among other things, a dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. Now, there have not been elections as scheduled in Ukraine, I believe because their constitution says there cannot be elections during martial law. And there is martial law right now because the country is at war. So the idea is that there's not elections there, haven't been elections since the war started because there's a war going on. I believe that would be what Ukraine would say about it. Yes, you can see right here, it says it right in the article. Zelensky's 5-year term was supposed to end in 2024, but presidential and parliamentary elections cannot be held under martial law, which Ukraine imposed in February 2022 in response to Russia's invasion. Trump's outburst today, which he repeated during the speech we just saw, followed Zelensky's comments on Tuesday that the U.S. president was parroting Russian disinformation when Trump asserted that Ukraine should have never started the war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion 3 years ago. Yes, Trump said on Tuesday that Ukraine should have never started the war. And today, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance warned Zelensky against attacking Trump. J.D. Vance said, according to the Daily Mail, which I think spoke to J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance said, the idea that Zelensky is going to change the president's mind by bad-mouthing him in public media, everyone who knows the president will tell you that is an atrocious way to deal with this administration, J.D. Vance said. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday that Trump said that Zelensky's approval rating was 4% in Ukraine. He did not offer any evidence of backing that assertion. Zelensky said Trump's assertion that his approval rating was just 4% was Russian disinformation and that any attempt to replace him would fail. Zelensky told Ukrainian TV, "We have evidence that these figures are being discussed between American and Russia. That is President Trump, unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space." The latest, from what I understand, polling has been difficult in Ukraine during wartime. There is a poll from the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology from early February, which found 57% of Ukrainians trust Zelensky. Let's see here. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said it was false and dangerous for Trump to call Zelensky a dictator, said German newspaper Spiegel. A few of Trump's fellow Republicans in Congress said they disagreed with the president's claim that Zelensky was a dictator and that Ukraine bore responsibility for Russia's invasion. But they stopped short of criticizing Trump directly. with Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a longtime supporter of Ukraine, saying Trump needed space to work on a peace deal. Let's see here. Let me read some comments from you. DE says, sounds like Putin is blackmailing Trump. Chris Roberts says, why are Zelensky's numbers so bad when in war? CTAC says, Ukraine never started the war. I think it should be pointed out that the question of, so I know there was a debate, I know, in the run-up to the U.S. election over how much and whether the U.S. should continue financial support to Ukraine. That in itself is a different question as to whether Zelensky is a dictator. So my guess is that there are people out there in the U.S., some people, who think that the U.S., who don't want the U.S. to give as much money to Ukraine, but don't think Zelensky is a dictator. So I just want to clarify that these are different questions. It's not the same question. Merge said, anyone see Mike Pence's post today? I think Mike Pence posted about this, former Vice President Pence. I saw it. Where is it here? He said, Mr. President, Ukraine did not start this war. Russia launched an unprovoked and brutal invasion. The road to peace must be built on the truth. That's what Mike Pence said today. Let me show you something as a little background to this Zelensky-Trump. I guess, are we calling it a feud? Reuters had a little video about it. Let me play the video from Reuters about this Zelensky and Trump. Just the last couple days here. This tension between them. Hang on, I'm going to put this on the screen right now for you so you can see it. Hopefully you can hear it. Can we hear it? Hold on, we're not hearing it. Why are we not hearing it? Oh, I know why we're not hearing it. Let's try this again. Make it a little bigger for you too. There, that's better. All right. A little bit bigger there. Good. Let's try this now.
U.S. President Donald Trump escalated his war of words with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday, calling him a dictator without elections in a Truth Social post, adding that he better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. Trump's post came just hours after Zelensky said the U.S. president was trapped in a Russian disinformation bubble, after Trump suggested on Tuesday that Ukraine was responsible for Russia's full-scale invasion.
You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Speaking at a news briefing, Zelensky said he would like Trump's team to have more truth about his country.
Unfortunately, President Trump, who we respect a lot as the leader of a nation that we really respect, the American nation, who supported us all the time, unfortunately, he lives in this disinformation space.
Zelensky also said Trump's assertion that his approval rating was just 4% was Russian disinformation, and that any attempt to replace him would fail. An early February poll from the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology shows 57% of Ukrainians trust their president. Trump's comments criticizing Zelensky come as the war between Ukraine and Russia nears its 3-year mark, following Russia's invasion on February 24, 2022. Russia has seized some 20% of Ukraine and is slowly but steadily gaining more territory in the east. Zelensky's 5-year term was supposed to end in 2024. But presidential and parliamentary elections cannot be held under martial law, which Ukraine imposed in February 2022 in response to Russia's invasion. The war of words between Trump and Zelensky comes after a phone call between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin last week. which upended U.S. policy to isolate Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. It also follows talks between senior U.S. and Russian officials on ending the war that did not include Ukraine or Europe. On Wednesday, Putin praised the outcome of those talks in Saudi Arabia, saying, quote, "I rate them highly," and added that Ukraine would not be excluded from negotiations to end the war. Meanwhile, Trump's envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, met with Zelensky in Kyiv on Wednesday. He told reporters he was there to listen and said he understood Ukraine's need for security guarantees.
All right, that was a little background there. We'll have to see where this all goes. I don't know where this is all going between Trump and Zelensky. But, you know, it was like there was a moment today during the speech when Trump, I think he was echoing his post on True Social, where, hold on a second here, let me just do this real quick. Why is this being all fidgety? There was a moment during the speech where, you know, Trump was saying, you know, being very critical of Zelensky and basically saying, like, we in Russia are going to figure out the end of this conflict. But, I mean, presumably, Ukraine is going to have to be in an agreement. For this conflict to end, there's two parties in the conflict. Russia, which invaded Ukraine, and Ukraine. So it really can't stop unless Ukraine agrees to whatever solution there is. You know, so yeah, I mean, it echoes, this is the True Social post from today from Trump, which I think he probably read most of or mentioned most of during his speech, but in Miami. But he said, look, in the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia. So, you know, we'll see if the negotiation between the U.S. and Russia produces something. But the fighting isn't going to stop unless Ukraine also agrees to whatever is being negotiated. W. Smith says there's not really two parties when we're footing the bill. A couple of things. Well, first of all, I mean, other nations are contributing to the war effort there. Also, a lot of what, I mean, I believe the drones they are using now are mostly domestically produced in Ukraine. Certainly, U.S. financial assistance is very important. But I guess from what the viewer seems to be implying that if Trump said we're not funding you anymore, Ukraine will just say, okay, that's it, we give up. I wouldn't be so sure of that. Mystical Wolf thinks Ukraine has been preparing for this for months. Mr. Fukinmu says, if Russia invaded Ukraine, how did Ukraine start the war? I'm pretty sure I saw Russian tanks move first. Tyler Crocker thinks they won't really be able to sustain fighting if the U.S. stops the money supply. Let's be real. Eric thinks Trump is stabbing Ukraine in the back. Hold on, I saw something today. Hang on a moment. By the way, the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said today, this is from Associated Press, He spoke today to Zelensky and stressed the need for everyone to work together, according to his office, which added that it's perfectly reasonable to suspend elections during wartime, as the UK did during World War II. Today also, Zelensky said, hold on a second, was this mentioned earlier here? Hold on. Where is this? Today, Zelensky said at his own news conference, he referred to it as the story, the claim that 90% of all aid received by Ukraine comes from the United States. Zelensky said that about 34% of all weapons in Ukraine are domestically produced, and over 30% of support comes from Europe. I don't know, would Trump just announce, that's it, literally not a cent more on Ukraine, ever? I don't know. He hasn't said that yet, formally, I don't believe. So, could that happen? Our viewer, Frukartafine, says this isn't 2022. Ukraine has ramped up production and Europe is behind them. Hang on one second here. I also want to mention congestion pricing too. He didn't mention congestion pricing in his speech today, did he? That was a whole other Trump-related story today that I want to mention. Trump also complained about this, too. This is an article from AP. Trump warns Zelensky to quickly negotiate war's end with Russia or risk not having a nation to lead. If you look down here, it says, the Trump administration has also shown frustration with Zelensky for directing his ministers last week not to sign off on a proposed agreement to give the United States access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. The Ukrainians said the document was too focused on U.S. interests. The proposal, a key part of Zelensky's talks with Vance on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, did not offer any specific security guarantees in return. Trump, and we heard this today, Trump during his speech in Miami fumed about Ukrainians walking away from an agreement. They broke that deal, Trump charged. I don't think there was ever a deal actually made. But I remember hearing that in the speech today. Cynthia Masters says, I don't think Trump is stabbing anyone in the back. He's just saying, get your blank together or we're done. You know, The Economist had an article about this. I want to see what they had to say today. Whereas Billy Joe thinks Trump is shaking down an ally. Hang on, I know people are like writing in and stuff. Hang on a moment here. Michael Lausen thinks that Trump will end up backing Ukraine because he doesn't like to lose. So Michael raises the point. I think this is an interesting point. That would Trump be okay ending up with some kind of deal that really sees Russia, whether you say take control of Ukraine, or that, you know, results in Ukraine in a year or two being largely under Russia's control or severely weakened as a country? Is that something that Trump wants in the future? Would he be okay with that? And I've seen some speculation about that. It's an interesting point that Michael raises. I mean, Trump says he wants to end the war, but the thinking is, well, it's not just about ending the war. It's what is left after the war ends. So it's an interesting thought. Let's see here. Dutch says, if we made Ukraine a state, that could solve a lot of problems. Haha. But seriously, this could work. Thomas Darwin thinks Trump doesn't care what happens to Ukraine. All right, let me just see also, The Economist had an article about this whole Zelensky versus Trump thing today. I want to just kind of skim through it and see something here. Sometimes they have very good analysis in The Economist. The Economist says even if Ukraine emerges from war, the country faces a fight for its survival. They talk about how millions of people have left the country, hundreds of thousands are dead or wounded, the country is exhausted. They say if there's a deal without long-term security, that will push more parents to send their children abroad. And they quote a Ukrainian official who says peace is needed, a peace that doesn't finish us off at the same time. Interesting. Also, interestingly, The Economist says many Ukrainian elite are very concerned that the language from the Trump team echoes a Russian trap calling for a ceasefire without security guarantees, and also calling for immediate elections that would shatter Ukrainian unity. The Economist thinks that The Economist says Trump's speed will probably produce not so much a quick peace as an unacceptable offer to Ukraine. Then Zelensky will have to negotiate more. One Ukrainian official told The Economist the bare minimum of what Ukraine could accept is continued ties with Western armies, no serious demilitarization of the Ukrainian forces, continued flow of weapons and money, and a foreign peacekeeping force. The Economist points out that Ukraine has serious manpower problems in their military. They say that Trump can and very likely will cut or stop military aid to Ukraine. He might cut support for Ukraine like Starlink and real-time targeting. Let's see. I want to just skim through to see if anything more I want to point out from this article. You can read this article. The whole article in The Economist is called Team Trump Wants to Get Rid of Zelensky. So you can read that there if you want. Let's see here. Internal polling revealed to The Economist shows that while Zelensky remains Ukraine's most popular current politician, he would lose a future election by 30% to 65% to Valery Zaluzhny, his former top general, who has yet to enter politics. Also, a public poll in January showed trust in Zelensky had fallen to 52%, the lowest of the war, well below the 90% at the invasion start, although well above the 4% suggested by Mr. Trump yesterday. They also point out, The Economist, that the true Ukrainian nightmare would be Trump enforcing the Kremlin blueprint in its entirety, which would be ceasefire without effective security guarantees, elections that result in political paralysis, a weak presidency, a fractious parliament, then demobilization, mass emigration in the beginning of internal disintegration. Also, they point out that there are few signs that Putin has abandoned his aim of crushing the Ukrainian state. You know, there's a general worry that if there's a ceasefire agreement, if it results in a weak Ukraine, that it could basically set the stage for, over the course of the next several years, Russia basically gaining control effectively over all of Ukraine. So that certainly need to, again, that's from The Economist today. I was reading you just a couple of selections from that article. You can go over there and read the article. But yeah, well, I mean, this is a huge story, and we'll have to see how these negotiations go. Yeah, if you missed it, Trump spoke a little earlier, and you can rewind and watch his whole speech. W. Smith, our viewer, thinks Ukraine has about 2 weeks left before Trump cuts funding. Star Tamer says, how long before Starlink gets switched off? I guess you're saying for Ukraine? Bluesy Girl says at least Putin is talking peace. Well, there's this also question of even if there's some sort of peace agreement without, say, an international force on the ground, would Putin stick to it, or might he continue his invasion in months or the following year or something like that? That's certainly a concern in Ukraine. And also, Glasstron, our viewer, thinks that Putin will not stop with Ukraine, especially if he's gifting a win. Would he move on to somewhere else? All right. What I want to do is, so that's a topic we'll keep an eye on. I do want to mention because we've been talking about Trump's today. We showed you Trump's speech, by the way. Oh, thanks to Bebop and Rocksteady. Bebop and Rocksteady says, a lot of people seem to believe they are entitled to U.S.'s money. Thank you for your support, Bebop and Rocksteady. Also, a thank you to There Is No Try. There is no try thinks Zelensky's party had a riot and overthrew the democratically elected leadership in 2014. That is why Russia liberated the eastern provinces. I mean, the opposing view to that would be that the elected leader of Ukraine around that time started acting in a very pro-Russia way and caused a popular rebellion in Ukraine, which threw out their leader, who was not representing the people adequately. That would be the opposing view. Thank you. There is no try for your support. Thank you also, Master HWC. And also Vincent Button, our new member. All right, let's talk for a second about the congestion pricing. I keep saying we're going to talk about it. Thanks also to Namaxwe for your support. When did he talk about Zelensky today? It was I believe in the later part of the speech. Thank you, Namaxwe1, for your support, and JCon for subscribing on Twitch. All right, hang on a moment. Trump administration moves to end New York City's congestion pricing. Oh, thank you, Jim, by the way, for your support. Jim from Europe thinks Putin wants all of Ukraine. He wants the U.S. out, and then he will have it. That's what Jim thinks. Thanks so much, Jim, for your support. By the way, big thanks to our moderators. We have moderating Beth Mythical. Thank you so much. Ruth Krafasi. Cynthia Moon over there on YouTube, Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X over there on Facebook, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, thank you. And any other moderator, Paul Anderson, thank you. Also on Twitch, our moderators over there, Bastion Girl, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Matthew Kohai 3, McBritches, and Surly Dev. So this was a major thing. This was not some little thing. This was being planned for a long time. It was a major change in New York City. Were they the first? Was this the first U.S. city to try this? See if I can get an answer for you. Yeah, according to Perplexity AI, New York City was the first city in the U.S. to implement congestion pricing, where you would charge people to drive into a certain part of the city, which would lessen traffic. Also, they were using the funds to fund public transportation. And just after, this had only been in effect for about 6 weeks or so, came into effect on January 5th. And but the Trump administration said today they were killing the program. This is the New York City program. So you can see here from. Let me just hold on real quick. Let me just see if I can do this. Is this going to work? Let's see. You know what I'd like to show you? Actually, I'd like to show. We'll take a little look at what Governor Hochul had to say about this. She responded to this today. The Trump administration said today, says Reuters, that it was rescinding federal approval of New York City's congestion pricing program that is designed to reduce traffic and raise money to upgrade an aging subway and bus systems. And you can see here, hold on. Hold on a moment. Just give me one sec here. Show you the DOT. Can I get their press release about it? Let's see. Department of Transportation. Here. U.S. Department of Transportation terminates tolling approval for New York City's cordon pricing program. Here's a quote in their press release from Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy. Transportation Secretary Duffy, who's in the Trump administration, obviously, said New York State's congestion pricing plan is a slap in the face to working class Americans and small business owners. He claims commuters using the highway system to enter New York City have already financed the construction and improvement of these highways through the payment of gas taxes and other taxes, but now the toll program leaves drivers without any free highway alternative and instead takes more money from working people to pay for a transit system and not highways. It's backwards and unfair. The program also hurts small businesses in New York, he claims, that rely on customers from New Jersey and Connecticut. Finally, it impedes the flow of commerce into New York by increasing costs for trucks, which in turn could make goods more expensive for the consumer. Every American should be able to access New York City regardless of their economic means. It shouldn't be reserved for an elite few. Now, hang on a moment. Meanwhile, also, and Trump talked about this on his social media, and he said, "Long live the king." Let me show you that from his Truth Social. Congestion pricing is dead. Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king. He'd be referring to himself, yes, as Buckminster Fullerene says. And then the White House social media posted that quote with a picture of him with a crown on. Right here. Congestion pricing is dead. Yeah, they post a quote, and then they have this parody of a time cover, it looks like, which says, "Long live the king" down here. And there it is. That's from the official White House X account. Riri Patton thinks he is mocking the Trump haters, calling him king. I don't know. I can't get into his head, so I can't tell you exactly what he's thinking. Reuters says that New York Governor Hochul, who has said the funds raised from the program would underpin $15 billion in debt financing for mass transit capital improvements, said the program had been a huge success, reducing commuting times and helping kids riding school buses to get to classes on time. I'm going to show you some of what she said shortly. Congestion pricing, which the city has estimated would bring in $500 million in its first year, was approved in the final months of former President Biden's administration. As it involved tolls on federal highways, it required U.S. approval. That's why the federal government can be involved. Transit officials say the program has cut commuting times and that inbound trip times on all Hudson River and East River crossings are now 10 to 30% faster or more, while bus service has also improved. Subway ridership has also grown since the toll was introduced. The governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, who has opposed the program, a Democrat who's opposed the program, maybe because it taxes people from New Jersey going into New York, praised Trump and Duffy for their efforts to halt it. He said the program gives MTA excess funds at the expense of New Jersey commuters. Reuters points out that a few other cities around the world have implemented congestion pricing systems. They point out that, oops, hang on, I have to turn off this little thing here. Why is that still on? Oh, I see. Reuters said London now charges £15, $18.70 American. Singapore and Sweden also have congestion pricing plans. Before the fee, New York said that more than 700,000 vehicles entered the Manhattan Central Business District daily, slowing traffic to around 7 miles per hour on average, which is 23% slower than in 2010. Let me take some comments here on this, and I want to show you some of what Kathy Hochul had to say about this. Thank you, Bebop and Rocksteady. I don't know that I'll cover the vote on Kash Patel, the confirmation vote, because I'm not hearing any reporting that suggests his confirmation is seriously in jeopardy. So I don't know that I'd come on just to cover it, but maybe we'll be on anyway and can cover it. Thank you, Bebop and Rocksteady. Thank you also, our viewer, I can't even read the name for your support, who says all that power in the USA didn't unsubscribe Putin. Some of our viewers think that Trump is trolling about when he calls himself a king. Shadow says, sad thing, he is not joking. He wants to be a king. Chris N says $9 is pretty hefty on the people who have to drive in. Curtis Beef says Trump is causing $15 billion to be lost for transit improvements. Yay. Son of Revolution thinks this program was government greed at its finest. Let me show you. I wanted to take a brief look at what Governor Hochul of New York had to say about this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but Governor Hochul spoke about this today. So let's take a second to hear what she had to say about in response to Trump, the Trump administration saying, nope, we're getting rid of the congestion pricing. Oops, hold on a second. What I need to do is do this, where is it here? There it is, okay. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit of this, not the whole thing, a little bit of what Governor Hochul said. And this was earlier today. All right, let's hear the start of how Governor Hochul in New York responded to the Trump administration saying they're getting rid of the congestion pricing program in New York City, which has only been in effect for 6 weeks. And this thing was a long time in planning and implementation. I believe there was a lot of money spent on it. How much did it cost to implement this program? Can I find a quick answer for you? But it's not something that they, quickly turn on with no expense. This was a long time being planned and money had to be spent on it. Let's see here. All right, anyways, let me just show you. Right, Hochul said this, as one of our viewers said, Suzanne Wallach, the city is, I believe New York State is going to challenge this in court. And didn't she say that they're keeping it going? Hold on a second here. Well, I'm going to show you in a second what she said. Here, hold on. Watch this. This is from earlier. Oh, we did get rid of the music.
And my counsel, Brian Mahana. At 1:01 p.m. today, the U.S. Department of Transportation emailed us a letter from Secretary Duffy announcing their attempt to end the congestion pricing program in the state of New York.
I want to just update the headline. So Trump already spoke. We already showed Trump speaking from Saudi Arabia, from Miami Beach at the Saudi Arabia hosted business event. So if you missed that, you can rewind. Just to not confuse people, I'm going to just put the headline here. Trump administration, Trump ends NYC congestion pricing program. But NYC says they're going to challenge this, or New York, the state says they're going to challenge it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm letting you hear a little of what the governor, this is Governor Hochul in New York, of what she had to say about this today.
New York. At 1:01 p.m. today, the U.S. Department of Transportation emailed us a letter from Secretary Duffy announcing their attempt to end the congestion pricing program in the state of New York. At 1:58 p.m., President Donald Trump tweeted, "Long live the king." I'm here to say New York hasn't labored under a king in over 250 years. And we sure as hell are not going to start now. The streets of this city where battles were fought, we stood up to a king, and we won then. And we will, in case you don't know, New Yorkers, we're in a fight. We do not back down, not now, not ever. Because who are we fighting for here? We're fighting for our residents, our commuters, our riders, our drivers, our emergency personnel. Life has gotten better, even those who have asthma, people with illness. That's who we're fighting for. And the 6 million people who use the MTA to get to their jobs and their lives and their doctor appointment, nurses, doctors, EMTs, all the people who need to get to their jobs in a reliable way, they're now going to be affected. So I also have to raise a question. As they look at the pretext for this rejection, and we have a lot of legal reasons why we know we're going to be victorious, but they actually cited the will of New Jersey. New Jersey didn't want this. Ignoring the will, the people who live here, they're elected leaders in Albany, and all of a sudden, the Trump administration is citing, well, New Jersey wasn't happy, okay? I will talk about that later. But here's what I want to also say. I don't care if you love congestion pricing or hate it. This is an attack on our sovereign identity, our independence from Washington. And this is, we are a nation of states. This is what we fought for. This is what people like Alexander Hamilton and others fought for, to set up a system where we are not subservient to a king or anyone else out of Washington. So this is the fight we're in. It's all about our sovereignty. And I spoke to the president many times in a reasonable way, calm way. You're a New Yorker. You know how essential it is to have safe, reliable public transit, or else this system shuts down. Our economy shuts down. The nation's economy could shut down. That's how essential we are. And one would think he would know that. And then you have others involved. I mean, it feels like the commuters of our city and our region are now the roadkill on Donald Trump's revenge tour against New York. And I have to say this to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. It's not the real world, Sean. It's real life for New Yorkers, and don't you forget that. So, we're in fight mode. Within seconds of us getting this notification, our MTA was prepared. We knew this could come. Filed a lawsuit within minutes. I'm very confident we'll be successful. And I also want to say the cameras are staying on. We are keeping the cameras on. Lights, cameras, action. They're staying on. Last thing I'll say, if in some world that they are successful, the next time you're stuck in traffic, the next time your train is delayed, the next time you're in a flooded station because infrastructure repairs were not made, I want you to think of this. Think about this. Next time you're stuck in traffic.
Just to be clear, that was the picture that the White House posted on social media. After Trump said, "Long live the king," they reposted, the White House X account posted Trump's quote in a parody time cover that had Trump with a crown on it that said, "Long live the king."
Okay, we know where the blame goes. Okay, we have my top 10 reasons why congestion pricing is working. But as someone who's worked so hard, I want to let Jana Lieber tell you why we believe this program is working and why it's essential. Then we haven't taken any questions, and my counsel can explain our legal strategy as well. Thank you very much.
All right, this is a fairly short, I'm not going to play the whole press conference. Let's just listen to a little bit of the next speaker real quick. But then I'll take some comments from you guys. This was earlier today. This was the New York response to Trump saying Trump killing the NYC congestion program, which had been in operation for all of 6 weeks.
Wow. Thank you, Governor Hochul. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. Simple situation. New York ain't going back. We tried gridlock for 60 years. It didn't work. It cost our economy billions. But you know what's helping our economy? What's making New York a better place? Congestion pricing. So as the governor said, let me just take you through what's happened in the month and a half since tolling began. Traffic was down 9% in January. 1.2 million fewer vehicles entered the central business district, and that meant bus speeds and all speeds went way up, particularly express buses, people coming from areas where a lot of people drive. The cross streets, which are the death zone for drivers in Manhattan, anybody knows that. Canal Street, 34th Street, 57th Street, speeds are up, up, up. The streets are safer, half as many crashes, and that means pedestrians are not getting injured and killed. But this is a governor who talks to me about the economy. There are fewer cars, but there are more people coming to the central business district. That's what you want. That's what you want. And the central business district areas have had a surge in pedestrian traffic, office workers, tourists, shoppers, that far outpaces the rest of the city and the rest of Manhattan. And small thing, we heard a lot of people, oh, no one's going to come here for dinner. Restaurant reservations up 7% since congestion pricing, far outpacing the other cities on the East Coast. Broadway is humming. Gross is up 25%. Audience attendance.
All right, so you get the basic idea. I wanted to let you see what Governor Hochul said and the basic position of this press conference, that the program is working. Okay, and I told you what Transportation Secretary Duffy said. And if you want, there's like a whole. If you go to I'll post a link. I'm not going to get all into it right now. I'll post a link in the chat to. I think there's a document you can go get. Where is it here? A full copy of the letter. This is a whole letter. Hold on. This is a whole letter here from the Secretary of Transportation to Governor Hochul. This is the letter that was today, I believe. This is from Secretary Duffy. Yes, from Secretary Duffy, and announcing that the Transportation Department, the Trump Transportation Department, is killing the program off. And if you wanna read the whole Department of Transportation position on this, I will post a link to this letter in the chat. So I'm going to take some comments now. So how will this, what will happen with this in court? I have no idea. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer. Does the state of New York have a chance to save this program in court from the Trump administration killing it off? I do not know. I'll take some comments from you guys, though. Jean Romaine says, folks driving into work from New Jersey can breathe a sigh of relief now. Zach F. says, what happened to states governing themselves? Kathy Hochul, Governor Hochul, said she believes this is Trump trying to take revenge on New York. Remember, Trump faced a couple trials in New York, right? Several things. So there was the felony conviction in New York, which was a Manhattan district attorney. That wasn't federal charges. That was state charges. He lost a civil suit in New York to, wasn't it E. Jean Carroll? Wasn't that a New York case, I believe? Then there was also, anyways, so there's that stuff. And, you know, New York did not vote for Trump. So I can't say, but Governor Hochul thinks it's part of his revenge tour on New York. One of our viewers says, why are they Melissa Blank says, why are they clapping for taxes? I paid a few $100 a week with these tolls just last month. So obviously nobody wants to pay more taxes. The argument for the program would be that the benefits you will get and that the state will get are greater than the taxes you will have to pay. That would be the argument. I'm not telling you what to think about it, but The idea is it's not just a tax to tax. It's a tax. It's a charge which has the benefits of one, keeping traffic down and all of the benefits that will come from that, and also two, providing funds for mass transit and the benefits that will come from that. So yes, like other taxes, nobody would, in theory, want to pay them, but the idea is that the cost is outweighs the benefit. The benefits outweigh the cost. I'm not telling you have to agree, but that's the argument. Floyd DeVivno says it's a toll to discourage behavior like a cigarette tax. Curtis Beef thinks this was bringing more people into the city while reducing traffic. Shell C says tolls aren't usually $9 a day. That's the difference. If I remember right, I think maybe the charges were originally going to be more. I mean, if you want to reduce you do have to charge enough to change behavior. If you charge an amount that's not going to affect people's behavior, then it's not going to affect the traffic that it's supposed to affect. I'm not telling you what to think about it, but you know, the idea would be is if you're doing this to relieve congestion, you need to charge enough to cause fewer people to drive in. Salty Life says it's an example of the government taxing its citizens because they know better. Last I checked, those are federal roads paid for by Americans. And again, the idea is the tax is supposed to bring benefits to people, not just tax them. Running King says, I think this works even better at $100. Hey, and I can't tell you, is Trump doing this out of principle, regardless of the fact that it's New York? Or does the fact that it's New York play into Trump's decision to do this? Should we ask this as a poll question? I'm going to make a poll question. We haven't had a poll today. Did it being in... how do I say this really quickly? I have to keep it short if I'm going to ask it as a poll question. Is the fact it's NY, did the fact it's NY play into Trump's decision? Or impact Trump's decision? How's that? Did the fact it's New York impact Trump's decision? The thinking it would be is that was he more likely to do this because it's New York? I don't know. I'm going to ask the poll question. We'll do that and see what you guys say, because we haven't had a poll question today. Governor Hochul thinks it did. She just said that. All right, we'll do that, and then I'll tell you what people said. That'll be our poll for the day. Hold on. I'm posting the poll. I'm going to show you the results right now. Just posting it on Facebook too. Okay. I said, did the fact that it's New York impact Trump's decision? Basically, did it make him more likely to ban this because it was New York we're talking about? On YouTube, our viewers think 64% said yes, 36% said no. On Facebook right now, 75% say yes, 25% say no. And on Twitch right now, 70% say yes, 29% say no. So of those of you who have voted, more of you think that this did impact his decision, it being New York, than not. But Belinda Alyssa says the world has been influenced by New York politics for 200 plus years. By the way, our viewer Great Philosophy Renaissance wrote in and said, 20% back from DOGE savings to the American people, that will be powerful. President Trump in his speech earlier today said that an idea being considered is give 20% back from the DOGE savings to the American people. I have no idea whether that will actually happen, but it is something he brought up. Thank you, Great Philosophy Renaissance, for writing in. Sorry, it took me a little while to see your comment. Thanks also, John Enriquez. John says it's his city. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Also, thanks to Saku Satala, our member, and Red Squirrel 82 for your support. All right. Well, I appreciate you voting in our poll. And close this right now. King Kimo Sabi says maybe he just wants to help the average American save money. Cynthia says NY sees Trump for who he is. Mammy Washington says he is defending the people. Douthis says, let's face it, Trump is a vindictive little man. Thank you, Captain Flea Show, for your support. And a quick reminder, we talked about this yesterday, that the New York Times reports... before I do that, I wanted to just mention a couple things about this congestion pricing story. The Washington Post had a story about it. Trump administration revokes approval of NYC congestion toll. The lawsuit filed by the MTA against this move by the Trump administration alleges that Duffy and other federal officials violated multiple federal procedure laws, including Fifth Amendment rights to due process. The MTA's attorneys asked the court to stop the termination of the program. Governor Hochul said the cameras are still on, meaning the program is still in effect. An attorney that the Washington Post talked to said the state would appear to have a strong legal basis for its lawsuit. Courts place a heavy burden on a federal agency that is attempting a complete reversal of its previous position, Goldstein said. The simple fact that the administration has changed hands is not a legally justifiable rationale for an agency flip-flop. Okay. Yeah, I mentioned this. The original plan would have charged $15. The actual plan started by charging $9. Where's the quote from the MTA official here? There was a quote from an MTA official which said, the chair of the MTA, which runs New York City's subway and bus system, which was the public transportation was going to get a lot of money from this. The chair of the MTA said it's mystifying that after 4 years and 4,000 pages of federally supervised environmental review and barely 3 months after giving final approval to the program, U.S. Department of Transportation would seek to totally reverse course. Well, the thing that changed is who's the president and which administration the transportation administration is under. All right. I did want to mention, though, that just a reminder, the New York Times is reporting that the IRS will start laying off more than 6,000 employees tomorrow as part of the Trump administration's, as part of Trump's broad effort to cut the federal workforce. And those layoffs would focus on relatively new hires there. So something we'll keep an eye on. Thank you, Cags and Bacon, who said any other cities that implemented this robbery? I think how is building more public transit a bad thing? So I think Cags and Bacon is being sarcastic by calling it a robbery. But yeah, we mentioned it before that London, according to Wikipedia, some cities that have it are London, Stockholm, Milan, and Gothenburg. Also, Singapore has it as well. Gothenburg is in Sweden. The country of Singapore has it. In certain areas, I believe. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to change the headline here. Please rewind to see replay of Trump's speech. How's that? So if you missed the speech, we played it. You can rewind and watch it. I think we're getting... I probably pronounced Gothenburg wrong, by the way. I don't know how to pronounce it. Gothenburg is pronounced, I don't know. Gothenburg. Anyways, I think it's time for us to start wrapping this up. So we were able to get on the air and show you Trump's speech in Miami. No huge news from it, but there was some interesting stuff there. But, you never know with him. I cover these things because you don't know what he's going to say. Maybe there'll be some big news coming out from it. So I wanted to cover it. And then we also got to talk about a couple big developments today. The ongoing feud between Trump and Zelensky of Ukraine, and also the Trump administration today announcing that it's killing the NYC congestion pricing program. So we've been talking about that stuff. And next time there's big breaking news, we'll come on the air to cover it. But I really appreciate you guys being with me for our live coverage during this stream. And subscribe, follow the channel, because when there's more big breaking news, we'll be on the air to cover it. If there's big breaking news tonight, I'll come back on the air to cover it. Subscribe, follow the channel, and turn the notifications on, because I don't know when big breaking news is going to happen. We have our own notification system. It works fantastic. We do it through Discord. It's free. Sign up. The mods will post the link to the notifications. You can find it in the description of this broadcast on YouTube and Facebook as well. But sign up for the notifications. And I will post updates about the news when we're not on the air on my X account. Oh, I did want to mention this. ABC News reported that Delta is offering $30,000 to each passenger on board the Toronto airplane that flipped over. And Delta is saying that the gesture has no strings attached and does not affect rights. So ABC News reporting that Delta is offering, no, this is They're offering $30,000 to each passenger as a goodwill gesture, I guess. But again, it has no strings and it does not affect rights. So I guess somebody could still sue Delta or if they wanted to or whatever. I don't know. It's just a brief summary I saw from ABC News. So I don't want to get into that now. I just wanted to pass that along. But follow me on X for breaking news at Lookner on X. I'll post stuff there tonight. And that is at Lookner, and I'll post a link to that in the chat. But I very much appreciate you guys being with us today. And a couple more comments. Bald Eagle says you have to remember the DOJ just sued New York because they weren't working with ICE. That's what Bald Eagle had to say. Karen Moore thinks Trump's unemployment stats are going to look pretty bad with all the layoffs. That's our viewer, Karen Moore. Just wanted to read a couple comments here. Oh, also Melanie said, I liked hearing that Trump is thinking about giving dividends to taxpayers from the savings DOGE has found. Thanks, Melanie, for writing it. Took a second to get to see your comment. But I really appreciate you guys watching and also writing in, sharing your comments, letting me read them, participating in the chat, those of you who did that. So much appreciated for watching. And let's shout out our moderators. They are fantastic. They are the reason why we can have chat rooms at all. Couldn't have without our mods. Thanks for being here. Ruth Krafasi, Beth Mythical, over there on YouTube, Sabrina, all of our other YouTube moderators. Big thanks for being here. And Linda Belk, Larry, Misha over on X, thanks for being over there. And on Twitch, our Twitch moderators like Big Ball of Yarn, Idaho Star, Matthew Kohai 3, Mick Britches, all of our Twitch moderators, thank you. And, thanks. So, by the way, thanks on Twitch to Oxytropis for the bits. And Running Kings for subscribing. Thank you for your support on Twitch. Also, thanks to our Facebook moderators, including people like Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Paul Anderson, and what happened here? Why can't I? Did the stream end on Facebook? What happened with Facebook broadcast? Or did it start? Maybe it started and ended before. That might have been. I think I see what happened. It started and ended before. That's what happened. Before we started. Sorry about that. But all of our other moderators, they're over there on Facebook as well. Thanks to all of our mods. And thanks to everybody who donated. It's super nice of you guys. You were the ones that keep the channel going with your support. So I really, really appreciate that. So nice of you. Thank you. I think I thanked everybody. But if you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thanks so much for your support. And hey, we have a chat. You can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. At our Discord chat. It's free, and a lot of our viewers like doing that. So check out the Discord chat if you haven't. It's the same link as the notifications link. And a big thanks to our Discord mods too. Thanks, Discord mods, for all you do. Another good way to find out when we're going live and to hear about the channel, Agenda Free TV on X. I always post there when we're going live. So if you are on X with any kind of degree of regularity, follow us on X. I post updates about the channel there. I'll post the link in the chat. And a reminder for you YouTube viewers, hey YouTube viewers, if I were you, if you like the channel and you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you turn on the notifications over there. Another good way to find out when we're live or going live. YouTube, if you subscribe, what you want to do to turn on the notifications is click this bell and choose all notifications. So if you're subscribed on YouTube, make sure you got the bell checked and you've chosen all. Also, yes, click the bell, as Crypto King says. Hey, thanks to our Facebook subscribers, by the way, for your support of the channel, like Eve Richards, Lou Green, Robert Rial II, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body, Sharon Klassen Goslin. Thank you, Sharon, for subscribing. By the way, Robert Rial says, my understanding watching world news is that Europe is going to step in where the U.S. is bowing out in support of Ukraine, I think. Robert Rial II. Robert says, I see we made a promise to Ukraine to protect them if they give up nuclear weapons. United States, I guess, under Trump doesn't have to uphold their promises. So Robert thinks Ukraine, that Europe might step in with more support. Thanks, Robert, for the comment there in the chat. Thanks, Lou Green, for subscribing and being there, and all of our other Facebook subscribers. Thanks so much, and also big thanks to our Twitch subscribers for supporting the channel, like Running Kings, Bad Toastery, Night Owl, Shaggy, Wall Street, Matthew Kohai 3, Real Pew Pew Pew, Pew Pew Pew, I think it is supposed to be. Billy Joe on Twitch, thanks for subscribing. Gina Pina. And who else we got over there? Douthis, My Mind Spray, Neo Geo Zach. Thanks for subscribing, our Twitch subscribers. And also our YouTube members like Evelyn and Maine, JK Cnar, Lucky Minute, Jesse's Girl, Crypto King, UV Lightning, Dr. McRib, Georgia Culture, Mammy Washington, Wickedest Witch, Beam Me Up, Dr. McRib, Evelyn V, and all of our other members. Thank you. And all of our other viewers. Thanks for watching, everybody. Billy Joe Drage, for example. Hectate. Golden Days, Girly Sound, Simp Nasty over there on Twitch. Geeg. Thanks to all of our viewers. Oh, Bud Green was moderating too. Jamie Rowland, thanks for watching. Stasha Morgan, Dennis McNeely, Kristen Apedia, Chris Smith, Paul Palma, Melissa Banks. Okay, I am wrapping this up. Again, Knox Corvus, our member. Thanks for being a member over there on YouTube. That is it for now. You've been watching our live coverage of Trump speaking in Miami and some of the developments with the Trump administration today. But if you missed the speech, you can just rewind and go back and watch it. That is it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.